Hi, Rhonda.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, good.
Got me sound-wise, Marv?
Yep, we got you, Dave.
All right.
Oh, we even got visual now. Sound check, Sherry. Can you hear me? So it looks like she's signed on twice.
Hey, Marv, how's this audio?
Very good, Andy. Hear you loud and clear.
Marv?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going back to mute. You can hear me.
Yes,
Not
ma'am, I
see, but
can.
hear.
Yep, can hear you, Sherry. Thank you. Mr. Biondo, sound check. If possible, please.
Good evening.
Good evening, Paul. Hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
All right, I'll hit it mute again.
Sound check, Miss Kramer.
Mr. Radtke, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, loud and clear. Very good. Thank you.
I'll mute it so you can't hear what I'm thinking.
Okay, very good.
Hey, Ron, do you hear me? Ron,
I can, Dave. Yep.
is Mike Rademacher still with Gordy Frazier?
I believe he is. Yeah.
He got elected as trustee in Long Lake.
Oh, did he? Yeah, I'm sure he's still with Gordy. In Long Lake.
He moved.
I was going to say, I thought he lived in, in Green Lake or
Blair.
Blair.
In Blair, yeah.
He moved about a year ago and then ran for office and got it.
Huh. I'll be darned. That's why I've not seen the Gordy Frazier truck there.
Barb, are you gonna try and tape this tonight?
Yes, I hit record. And in fact, it says it's recording. We're 6 minutes, 10 seconds into the recording.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We got about 2.5 minutes.
Hey, Judy, I see these repairs to engine 4. What happened to engine 4?
It was running.
It was a pump fitting and connector that went bad, and they don't make it anymore, so it had to be custom. So we get water out of it.
We've all been told it's getting past its prime.
Oh yeah, we're awaiting to hear back from FEMA if we received a grant for it. Haven't released any of that information yet to the states.
Dave, a lot of us are past their prime, but still getting money pumped in us.
Oh yeah.
Not put out to pasture yet.
That's right.
About a half a minute. You ready, Rhonda? Ready, Judy? Okay. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the Green Lake Township Board of Trustees meeting to order on December 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Judy, could you do a roll call, please? And when you respond after the roll call, because your name will be called, but give the name and who's speaking, and then you can give your comment. Go ahead, Judy.
Biganowski,
Here.
Biondo,
Here,
Marek,
Here.
West,
Here,
McDonald, Kramer here, and Radtke.
Here. It looks like we have 16 participants so far at the meeting. I guess rule, if you're not speaking, if you could put your device on mute, that eliminates the feedback if at all possible.
Barb,
So
it
with
looks
that,
like Pat
Hmm?
just joined us.
oh, yep, I see him right there. Are you there, Pat?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Board members have a copy of the agenda. Is there anything that you'd like altered, added to, removed from the agenda? Speak now.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to add at the end of new business, office hours and operation.
That was Treasurer Marek.
Yes, sir.
As to have office hours and operation under last of new business.
Correct.
Is there any other additions, subtractions?
Yeah, I'd like to add something.
Trustee McDonald?
Yeah, under new business, the mandatory COVID vaccine.
Mandatory COVID vaccine. Okay. Any others? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as modified with including office hours and operations and mandatory COVID vaccine.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda with the addition of office hours and operations and mandatory COVID vaccine.
Support.
We got a motion by Treasurer Marek and supported by Trustee Baganowski to approve the agenda as amended with the addition of office hours, operations, mandatory COVID vaccine. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please, Judy.
Myself. Baganowski,
Yes.
Biondo,
Yes.
Marek,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Kramer, yes, and Radtke.
Yes. Motion passes of the approval of the agenda. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, which contains the minutes of November 9th, 2020, bills, and we're going to have a verbal update of the treasurer's report later on in the agenda. Is there any member of the public that would like an item removed from the consent agenda? Please raise your hand or speak up and identify yourself. Seeing none, any member, any staff? Seeing none, any board member? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Clerk Kramer, supported by Trustee West, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Roll call, please. We have to do roll call on these meetings now.
Biondo,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Kramer, yes, Baganowski,
Yes.
Marek,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
It appears we lost.
Yes, we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please wait a moment until our Clerk Kramer gets back on board. Yeah, I see by her notification it's an error. I just got notification from down the hall that her iPod or iPad decided to up. So with that, I would just like a reminder, just keep yourself on mute to help minimize any impact. And I will do my best to pay attention to the right side of my screen that has all 22 participants there. to raise their hand to speak under public comment. I will get to you in the order that I can get to you, I suppose, as it comes up on my screen. Well, it appears that we're up to 24 participants now. And I see Judy signed back in upon a mobile device, I believe. Miss Kramer, are you there?
Told you, Mark, we done this in person.
Yeah, however, several other people said no go.
Is Judy muted?
It looks like she's trying to go from her iPad. It's updating. We'll pick the fine time to do so. Okay. Rhonda, if you may.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah,
Judy just called, wants to know, ask you to unmute her. She can hear, but she can't talk.
I can request an unmute.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, we're in business. I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay. We were in the middle of a roll call, I believe.
Yes, we were. Okay. Was it the one for the, let me get to where I was at here. Consent agenda.
Consent
wasn't
agenda?
it? Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so McDonald
Yes.
and Radtke.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes to approve the consent agenda as presented. The next item on our agenda is reports. I see we have Chief Case on board. Chief Case, I understand I see that we have a report in the pack. Is there anything additional that you would like to speak on?
Nope, I don't have anything right offhand besides just to update the board. I'm on board, just working my way through stuff, trying to take care of whatever issues come up and help the crews right now, and that's all I have really.
You're full time now?
I am, yep. Last week was here all week.
And I don't know if you were on earlier or not, Chief Case, but we've been noticing a lot more repairs on engine 4. And I know you've been investigating whether or not FEMA grants have been put out. And my last conversation with you, they have not. Does that still stand?
We're just pending the one that was already applied for. That one's still, we've got no rejection notice from FEMA, and I don't believe anything's been granted since our air pack grant came through. So it's still sitting in limbo, and I assume that they try to have those done by the end of the fiscal year. So I would assume that we should hear something within this month. If I don't know with COVID, if they've been put on hiatus or what with that.
Okay, very good. I see that we have,
Wait.
anybody have questions for Chief
Yeah,
Case?
I do.
Pat or Trustee McDonald? Sorry.
It looks like that COVID vaccination may be available for first responders prior to our next monthly board meeting. Does the department have a policy concerning whether or not first responders have to get vaccinated?
No, Pat, we don't have a mandatory vaccination. I don't know of anybody that's going to. It's going to be the recommendation to have everybody get the vaccination. But I mean, we could talk about it at the board level about mandatory, but I don't know of any agencies that are going forward with the mandatory status of it. It's highly encouraged, but that's about all I can say about that.
Okay, thank you, Chief Case. Anything else, Pat?
Nope, not at this time.
Jerry, Paul? Dave, Judy?
Nope.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Chief Case.
Thank you.
I see we have Commissioner Klaus on board. Commissioner Klaus, give us an update of what's happening at the county level, please.
Good morning, or morning, good evening, everyone. On December 2nd, we held a public hearing at our board meeting there regarding proposal of intent to incorporate the Northwestern Regional Airport Authority. We held a meeting. We approved the packet for the authority at that time. It needs to go to Leelanau County to get approval, and then it'll be coming back. It's going to be a few volleys before it's done, with, I'm sure, more public hearings, but that's kind of the status on the airport. Any questions regarding the airport? Then I'll go to November 25th. We had a special meeting it was requested to make available $180,000 from the Grand Rivers County Home Rehabilitation Trust Fund for the PFAS contamination in the area of the Pine Grove subdivision in East Bay Township. The motion failed to provide the funding, and that was mainly due, and I voted no on that as well. East Bay Township has been working with the health department and the state, and there's funding available from the state. And we figured that if funding is needed from the county, they can ask for it at another time. But for right now, that's where the PFAS situation stands there. And then just a reminder that the county buildings are open for business, but it's only with scheduled appointments only. So, any questions?
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? I'll give you 3 seconds to unmute. Thank you, Commissioner Klaus.
Thank you.
And I believe we also have Penny Morris, the Commissioner Long Lake. or soon to be. My apologies. Penny, is there anything you'd like to state? I'm sure you've been keeping up with the county and.
Well, I'm kind of here tonight for a little on-the-job training. So what I'd like to say to the board is that I would like to hear from you if there's any way that I can specifically represent Green Lake Precinct 2 on the county board. Please contact me. I'd be more than happy for you guys to tell me what I can do better before I get in there and start making mistakes. So get on the front end.
You'll hear from me, and Ron
Oh.
hears from me. So my question to you is, when do you take your first official day of office? Let the people know.
To be honest, I'm not completely sure. There's been a couple of different dates batted around for being sworn in. So I'm not real clear on that yet, but it'll come soon enough.
Very good. Okay, any questions? Hearing none, that'd be real good. I'm trying to see if there is any other representative from the road commission. Being that Treasurer Marek no longer is a representative. Do you recognize anybody from the road commission, Andy?
I do not, sir.
Okay. Then is there any other reports? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to public comment. This is a time for the board to hear public comment. I'll ask that you state your name, address of residence, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak at this time? Please unmute and identify yourself. Oh, Mr. Dewey, I see you raised your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're taking and doing the wash here with our brand new community drain field, and that project went really well, and want to thank everybody on the township for helping out with that. Fleece and Brandon Brink, AJ's, Harbor Electric, all the people just did a marvelous job. And when it started, it didn't look like they'd ever be done. It looks like they finished on time and weeks, and everything seems to be going glowing.
Very good. I understand that your wife finally took a bath after 30 years plus.
I'm on, Mark.
Yeah, well, that's what he was saying, which is a good thing. It's good to hear on that. Is there any other member of the public? I'm looking for raised hands and or unmuting. Mr. Adams, I see. Go ahead, Wade.
Okay, thank you very much. In 2017, Herb Lobdell and I, along with Ed Dewey, went on the boat ride on Duck Lake to survey our Eurasian water mill. Two small spots, that's all. But according to the information that was presented on the Green Lake and Duck Lake Association website, PLM last year treated over 20 places on the lake. I don't know why that was. I don't know if we, the public in the Special Assessment District, are paying for that, but I don't think we should be. The other thing that I would like to say before you address the Eurasian Water Milfoil Special Assessment District, I think there should be an independent survey of the lake, not PLM, but a separate independent company to determine exactly what the aquatic plant distribution is, including Eurasian water milfoil, because we don't want our native plants killed on the lake. They provide cover for the fish, and we need those wildlife, and we need the northern water milfoil and the other aquatic plants that can be killed by the chemical treatment. So I have advocated in the past for biological treatment. Kaiser and Associates in Kalamazoo, Michigan are actually raising the weevil, and those weevil are being planted in a lake at Custer Recreation Area in the Kalamazoo area on a grant from the DNR. So there's experience with this, and a number of other lakes have used it. So those are my comments at this point. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wade. Greatly appreciate that. Okay. And please forgive me now, but I see that there was an Andrew Niedzwicki that would like to speak. Are you there, sir?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. I hope everyone's doing well.
Name and address, please.
Yes, name's Andrew Niedzwicki. I'm at 1900 Pine Tree. That's a Grand address. I'm here with my business partner, Shannon Stewart. And coincidentally, we have a proposal for a recreational marijuana facility, which is something we'd like to request be added to next month's agenda. And so I'm very interested to hear what everyone has to say about this subject today, as I believe it is something that can be very beneficial for our community.
Anything else? As you may have noticed, if you looked at our website and our agenda, we are have a couple items on our agenda to discuss exactly what you're talking about. Okay. And I see Ed Dewey, you still have your hand raised. You still with us? I'm trying to figure out how I can lower your hand. Oh, there we go. Ed? Okay, I'm going to lower his hand as well. Is there any other public? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished business, which at this point in time, I do not recall any. Is there any board member that believes there is unfinished business?
Yes. You were going down, Sherry
That was
West.
Sherry.
You were
Thank
going
you.
down on the airport to find out about the cameras and that. Did you make your meeting with those people?
No, not as of yet. I had a couple conversations with two of the facilities, and it's a holding pattern at this point in time. Some of them are not going to be doing any contact. They're working from their office, so it's kind of hard to perform on-site visits. Anything else? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. We'll move on to new business. I believe a request was put on by Mr. Steve Azell via email, if I'm correct, Judy, in that regards. Do we have Mr. Steve Azell on the board?
Mr. Radtke, Mr. Mark Clark seems to be raising his hand to get your attention. He may be representing Mr. Zell.
Mark Clark. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the little photos. I'm looking. Okay, Mark Clark. Let's see. Okay, Mark, if you'd like to identify yourself and how you are associated with Mr. Steve Azell, that'd be greatly appreciated. Hello, Mark. I see you're unmuted. Mr. Clark? We're going to have some latitude with this new audio visual stuff, so please bear with us. Bear with me in this regards here. Mr. Mark Clark, are you able to hear me? I can't see him on the...
It doesn't look like he has a on his computer, Marv.
What's that?
It doesn't look like he's got a mic on his computer.
Oh, whoops, it shows a headset at my end here. Mr. Mark Clark.
He can hear you. He's waving at you.
I wish I could see him. How do I get?
You have to scroll to the left, go through the pictures.
Is he waving with all those fingers?
I see Dick Thompson.
Yep. And Wade, he's fading in and out on mine.
Hey, Marv,
Yes, sir.
maybe Mr. Clark could call in on that phone line to get an audio.
He's giving you a thumbs up.
Okay. We'll give him a few minutes here.
Mark, it's user error.
Okay. Okay, where am I at here?
I can kind of read his lips. He said probably.
Yeah, that's politically correct.
Do you need the number, Mark?
Yes, he does, it says. Mr. Marek has it right there on his desk.
You put it in chat?
The number is 408-418-9388. The meeting number is 132-575-7934. And then there's going to be a passcode of 467-28964.
Isn't that an offshore account?
I just took his Bitcoin.
Okay, Mark, I can give you 7 digits to call and I'll put you on speakerphone.
Low tech.
231.
mute.
Okay, it's more. It's 10 of them. It's 631-7171. 631-7171. Hello, Mark. Yes, sir, Mark.
Great. I can hear you.
Okay, could you put your other computer on mute?
Got it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Can everybody hear him?
Barely.
Okay.
Great. Everyone can hear me?
Yeah, barely. If you can speak loudly and clearly, it'd be great.
Wonderful. I'll do that. I'm here this evening representing Steve Ezel and Andy McQuillan. Steve and Andy are your 2 licensed medical marijuana folks in Green Lake Township. Andy has the grow facility under construction, which he has had inspected, and he's about ready to go. Steve has been operating his provision facility in the township since January of this year. So we are here this evening to ask the board to consider including recreational marijuana to your medical marijuana ordinance. We're not looking to expand the number of licenses in any way, but to simply add recreational marijuana to the existing ordinance. And I know I've met most of you being here previously representing Andy McQuillan on our request for medical about 1.5 years ago. So I appreciate everybody's letting me speak again to you this evening. One of the aspects some of the aspects we'd like the board to consider in considering recreational marijuana are the following issues. When medical marijuana was initiated by the state of Michigan, there was an excise tax and an opportunity for local municipalities such as your township to share in funds, tax dollars generated by medical marijuana. That excise tax has sunsetted in March of this year. And so unfortunately, for those municipalities now participating in medical marijuana, there's no revenue sharing from the state. In order to be able to do that, municipalities must now adopt recreational marijuana in order to share in that revenue, that sizable revenue that's being generated by the 10% excise tax on recreational marijuana. You have two local property owners currently in Green Lake Township, in Andy and Steve, who are conducting or are about to conduct, first-class operations, but they are limited to medical marijuana. And the conventional wisdom presently is that medical marijuana simply may not survive the advent of recreational marijuana for a couple of good reasons. It's been the experience in some other states that have adopted recreational marijuana after adopting medical marijuana, that medical marijuana has all but virtually disappeared. For instance, in Oregon, 2/3 of the medical card holders failed to renew their medical cards after the adoption of recreational marijuana in Oregon. The only states that continue to have medical marijuana that are thriving are the ones that have heavily taxed recreational marijuana and not taxed medical marijuana. But Michigan is not one of those. The difference in price between medical marijuana and recreational marijuana is about 10%, which is the excise tax on recreational marijuana. So what the pundits and the conventional wisdom is suggesting is that medical marijuana will likely go by the wayside in Michigan once the recreational market has matured, which they're often running, and that probably won't take much longer until that occurs. Both of these gentlemen, are upstanding business owners. They've invested heavily in their enterprises and would like to remain with their businesses in Green Lake Township. As I've indicated, we're not asking the township and would not ask the township to expand any of the licenses that are currently available under medical, but simply allow medical to coexist, or recreational to coexist with recreational. There have been some other municipalities that have done exactly that with very little that is required in terms of ordinance amendment. They've essentially adopted an ordinance or an amendment to the ordinance that indicates that recreational can coexist to the same extent as medical and under the same regulatory scheme. Some of those municipalities, Kalkaska is one of them. There is another one, Morency, for example, who've simply made a simple amendment to their ordinances to allow that to occur. One of the benefits another benefit of adopting recreational in addition to medical is the fact that some of the surrounding municipalities have done that. Honor, for instance, has a thriving recreational business, and presently most of the folks that are purchasing marijuana drive right through Green Lake Township to Honor, or in the other direction to Kalkaska, to be able to purchase marijuana. And so the addition of recreational will benefit the township because people will be stopping in the township to purchase marijuana instead of driving through in order to purchase their marijuana from either Honor, Kalkaska, or other surrounding communities that are now committed to and in the process of adopting recreational marijuana ordinances. Both Andy and Steve intend to apply for recreational licenses because they believe, from the state of Michigan, because they believe it's necessary in order for their businesses to be able to survive. They would really prefer to stay in Green Lake Township with their businesses and believe that it's something that would be both beneficial to them and ancillary benefit to the township, both from tax-sharing dollars and for additional traffic, folks that will not only patronize a recreational marijuana business, but while they're at it, stop at other businesses in Green Lake Township. I would note the fact that 75% of the voters who voted on Proposal A that adopted recreational marijuana in the state of Michigan, 75% of those in Green Lake Township voted yes on that proposal. So there doesn't seem to be, at least based upon that vote, any strong opposition in your community for recreational marijuana. And so we would ask your favorable consideration in taking that next step to be able to allow these business owners to be able to continue to successfully thrive in Green Lake Township. And obviously, we've highlighted some of the benefits that the township could experience if they were to do this. And I'm happy to entertain any questions that any board members may have relative to either the process or any of the benefits to the township in making the determination to go ahead and proceed with the licensing of recreational marijuana facilities, in addition to the medical facilities. And again, we're not asking for any expansion other than the opportunity and the ability to be able to sell recreationally as well as medically.
Okay, let you know the iPhone 10 gets kind of heavy after a while. Holding it up. What is the breakdown of the excise tax, just for curiosity?
Well, the state of Michigan on recreational marijuana has the 6% sales tax, which is just the sales tax. The recreational has an additional 10% excise tax. And medical, they've done away with it. What happened was that the medical excise tax had a sunset provision that at least.
Yes. I have that. Do you have the breakdown of the dispense of the 10% excise that's dispensed? A percentage to the state, a percentage to the county, a percentage? Could you run that number, please?
Sure. The marijuana excise tax fund, 15% of the total tax goes to municipalities that allow retail sales. But that's only recreationally at this point.
Okay.
There was the sunset. Now, the projection is that it will be $1 billion plus industry in the state of Michigan. 15% of that is obviously $150 million, and your percentage share is really dependent upon how many other municipalities take the plunge, so to speak, and adopt recreational marijuana. So there's a significant pot of money there that potentially is available to local municipalities. The remaining breakdown is 15% to counties, 35% to public education, and 35% to MDOT for road improvements.
Okay. With that, board members, you heard the commentary from Mark, or Mr. Clark, I'm sorry. Is there any other questions?
Mr. Supervisor, I do have a question for Mr. Clark. You may know the answer to. Can you, as a provisioning center, have both the recreational and medical license in the state of Michigan, or if you start selling recreation, do you lose your medical license?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear the entire question.
Andy Marek, the treasurer, asked if you can carry a medical license and a recreational license in the state of Michigan.
Yes, that's correct. Operate both, and you can operate both in the same facility. Now, as I've indicated, I think medical may go by the wayside after a period of time. So, my clientele, everybody who has the medical license has applied for a recreational license in the state of Michigan on the assumption that will quickly. the answer is yes.
Was that your question, Randy?
That is what I needed. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from Dave, Pat, Paul, Sherry, Judy?
I had a quick question.
Okay.
When is the first disbursement of the shared revenues to the municipalities scheduled to go out for the first year?
Councilmember McDonald, I don't know the answer to the question. It was supposed to be immediately after the year end for medical, but given the fact that medical excise tax sunsetted in March, I'm not sure how that works. So your municipality could have potentially been able to participate. I'm not sure that your retail facility that is there currently was eligible because they were only operating for 3 months before that tax expired. But I do know it's available on the LARA website in terms of when they anticipate being able to disperse this annually to the municipality. I do know it's annually. I just don't know what month.
Well, the question's been asked and answered. I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for, Pat, but that's what we have. Anything else, Pat?
I'm good.
Okay, Paul or Sherry or Judy?
I'm good.
I'm good for now.
Okay, Sherry, I heard something.
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clark, in that regards there. As you may have noticed on our agenda, we are looking at our police power ordinance. And some, possible action. And I believe Alicia is online with us, who is our planning and zoning director. I would like to see or hear her comments. I know she's been working with Township Attorney Ward Kuhn in getting some ideas and thoughts. And Alicia, if you could give us a synopsis overview.
You want me to hit all three right now?
Off on the table.
Okay, so the board packet, there's 3 separate ordinance amendments proposed for consideration. First one being to reduce the number of provisioning centers from the 2 that we have currently to 1. We have 1 medical provider that has completed the process through all of Green Lake Township's requirements as well as the state. Also, then the next one being the consideration for repealing the recreation prohibition in the township, then leading to the potential for allowing 1 recreation provisioning center subject to that provider holding their current medical marijuana licensing with the township and the state. I think those are plenty for the size of our municipality. There has been mentioned in the past, you can go out to Honor, you can go out to Traverse City, but at the same token, we deserve to keep some of our businesses here in town. We don't want to lose any more. We do want them to have the opportunity to grow. And as Mr. Clark had indicated, that medical is probably going to go by the wayside. That would indicate to me that we would potentially lose those businesses if we don't give them the opportunity to grow into the recreation, subject to the criteria that we have in place as well as the state. Questions?
Thank you, Alicia. Is there any questions of that overview? The written materials in our board packet, obviously, but any other comments, questions from the board members?
I had one comment.
Mr. McDonald.
The proposed ordinance to reduce the provisioning centers down to 1 it looked like there was a strikeout through the growers reducing it down to 1, which I think we already did, but it didn't look like there was a strikeout through the provisioning centers reducing it to 1.
The strikeout is the completed ordinance amendment from the growers previously. The language that Ward suggested is in the police power ordinance amendment for the 07092018.1, where number 5 provisioning center becomes 1. And then if that is adopted by the board, the ordinance itself will have a strike through from 2 and will say 1, just like the grower does.
Did that answer, Pat? A strike through would occur in the event board took action to reduce it from 2 to 1. That's when it would take place. Correct, Alicia?
Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Andy?
Are we on potential modifications on that? Or are we still on the Mr. Azell's on the agenda?
Well, at this point, we took the information from Mr. Clark on behalf of Mr. Azell, and there was no action needed per se, because he made a request to have it considered. And the next 3 items on our agenda is exactly what Mr. Clark on behalf of Mr. Azell requested. So that's why I'm running.
Okay,
I'm thinking run these harmoniously.
There's several changes I'd like to make onto the zoning ordinance, 07092018.1. Please discuss. I see some issues I have with it. Maybe it's just questions I need clarified. One is the fee. I've heard Mr. Biganowski say several times, why $5,000? Are we really justified in that $5,000 fee for application? You and I discussed this earlier, but I think it's fair to discuss this in the public with everyone understanding why it's a $5,000, not a $100 or a $10,000 fee for application.
Could I just say for the record, this is a police power amendment, not zoning ordinance.
Andy, you misspoke.
I'm sorry, how did I misspeak, Mr. Biganowski?
This is not the zoning ordinance, it's a police power ordinance.
In the packet, under Article 1, purpose, last sentence of A says non-refundable fee of $5,000 will be imposed on each licensee as allowed it in this act unless waived by the township. So
still a police power ordinance. We haven't seen the zoning ordinance, and that's going to be my question. That's why my hand's been up for 10 minutes.
If I may, Supervisor Radtke?
Alicia, yeah.
There won't be any amendments to the zoning ordinance proposed unless the Board of Trustees decides to make any changes to the police powers ordinances.
Well, they need to run simultaneously because we won't do one without the other. So,
but if the board decides not to do anything, there's nothing to amend. But absolutely, we'll have to run it through the public hearings and so forth.
Alicia?
That's Sherry? Is that you?
Yes, Sherry.
The police powers don't have to run through a public hearing, only if it's a zoning ordinance amendment? Is that what you just said?
Yes. Ordinance amendments, police power ordinance amendments have to be published after adoption. Zoning ordinance amendments have to have public hearing prior to adoption by the Board of Trustees and then also be published.
Okay.
A question, I guess, that just goes, why do we have to amend our zoning ordinance?
well, probably 2 reasons. One is I don't remember where we allow these things. I don't think we did make an allowance for provisioning centers, period.
In our ordinance, we adopted
And then we said not in the gateway district, which we've repealed.
It's allowed in the commercial.
And it's allowed in commercial, and it doesn't say anything about medical. It says licensed marijuana growers, licensed marijuana processors, licensed marijuana provisioning centers, licensed marijuana safety compliance facilities, licensed marijuana secure transporters. It doesn't refer to medical or anything of that nature there.
It was somewhere it did, because Sherry and I were very adamant that it not be on M37 up and down our main strip. And where is that in the zoning ordinance now?
It's not.
Yeah, it's not allowed in the village residential or village commercial.
That's in our chart?
Yes.
And where Michelle is commercial, is that right?
What's
It's
that?
allowed in the commercial district, and Steve is located in the commercial district currently, as is Andy.
But the old Rick's is village commercial, right?
No,
No,
it's
commercial.
We changed it.
So my support or non-support of the police power is going to depend on what the zoning ordinance says where they can locate.
They're allowed in the commercial district. And where Andy and Steve are currently located are uses permitted by special use. And they are both commercial zoning districts.
Oh, the old Rick's you're saying is commercial, and I thought, no, that's not a place I want it in Green Lake Township.
It is commercial. The overlay districts went away last month. And when something isn't spelled out in an overlay district, the underlying district, AKA the commercials, kicked in, which is why the overlays went away, because they fell to what was there originally as commercials.
But I thought we prohibited it in that overlay district. Provisioning centers. Marv says no.
No.
Well, I think we did, but it's now different. We eliminated the district.
That's
as proposed, it would be allowed at the corner.
That was a deal killer for a couple of us.
I think Judy might have switched. No switch.
So Marv, tell me when we get to general discussion, because I do have something, but you haven't called for it.
Okay, with that, then we're gonna go, Andy, I believe your question was focused on some changes in that proposed police power ordinance relating to the 5,000 and ordinance number 07092018.1, 5,000. And you also made some other comments, or you had some other questions before we got off.
I do have, so I'm just curious, the 5,000, is that something that the township is getting reimbursed for our cost to do this? Or is this just a random number that was grabbed from the state?
Supposed to be tied to costs.
Yes. It's not to exceed a $5,000 number, but we can charge or assess the applicant a $5,000 processing fee, license fee, to help cover the township's cost in developing rules and regulations for such activity. So we'll have to reevaluate our costs here this next licensing year.
Gotcha.
Now, we've always sort of justified that the first couple of years, we can easily justify the 5,000. It's after year 3 or 4, maybe we couldn't, but no facility operator in their right mind is going to challenge their own municipality over a couple $1,000s. It's just not smart.
And then moving on to Article 3, medical marijuana facilities, Section B. Says the Green Lake Township Board of Trustees may review and amend this section from time to time. I really would like to see something added there to the effect of, and should not be more often than every 12 months. I don't want to be reviewing this every month. Someone bringing something to us, asking us for a change. So I'd like to add after the time to time, a comma, the words "and should not be more often than every 12 months, comma, to allow for additional facilities to reduce, eliminate, etc." I think this is something that I've been coming to board meetings forever, and it seems like this is something that keeps coming up over and over. And I don't want to be tying up our time every month or every 2 months discussing marijuana facilities. And I think that would help with that.
You know,
Okay.
Andy, that should be a policy for anything that we have, that we do any resolutions and that we do in the township. That we should only have to address it like only once in a 12-month period. That's a good suggestion.
Okay, thank you. And what's any other ones, Andy, in regards to that?
Under Article 4, letter B, lighting, I'd really like to strike that whole thing out of there because we're specific business in there, and that seems inappropriate to me for a government agency to be targeting a specific one, and replace that with our zoning ordinances. Refer it back, I believe it's Article 4, Section 4.23 in our zoning ordinance. Whatever the requirements for other business are should apply to this one, and we shouldn't be putting extraneous restrictions on, a particular business such as this one.
Okay, B, so noted. Anything else?
Mark,
What's that, Sherry?
but this was strictly because of the lighting that they needed, the artificial light to grow the marijuana. That's why that provision is in there like that.
No.
It's not lighting of the building and operating.
What's the difference between that and a desk light?
Have you seen grow lights?
I have, and restrictions on our zoning ordinance about how far out a light can project from the property. I believe it's not.
Well, our facility requires it to be done in an enclosed facility. I mean, just like what Mr. McQuinlan or whatever, the gentleman that we gave the approval for, it's in a totally enclosed structure to comply with the requirements, I believe. The only other ones that don't have to have these type of requirements are home growers that have the authority and ability to grow their own, that could do it outside in a fenced-in area with grow lights if they so desire. This type of thing, I'm with Andy in that regards there. If it's inside the building, inside any building, which the building is 4 walls and a roof, you're going to see a light if you open the door, just like any other. And we have the lumens and property line and all that, and Article 4, Section 4.23, I believe you said. Okay, anything else on that, Andy?
On Article 5, licensing, Section B, Part 2, goes through a list of everything we want to hear about, any partnership, any of that. Assuming we can do a background check on everyone who's involved in the operation. Is there anywhere in the ordinance that I'm missing? I think maybe Article 6, license generally under B, where they got to report any changes. Is that so we can revoke if somebody's involved in the operation? I'm worried about, we have Mr. Biganowski decides to open up a grow operation. He's an upstanding citizen, and Mr. Marek decides he wants to join in on the business, and Mr. Biganowski still has operation in it, but kind of steps away, and it's primarily my business. I may not be the person who's got the background you want running that organization. Is there any way that we're checking to make sure that they're not handing off a license that we hand out to somebody who shouldn't be or can't get the state licensing and shouldn't be operating in our township as a result?
Laura handles all that in greater detail than we would ever want to or need to. So we piggyback on them because they're far more involved than we do. The restrictions are much more detailed.
Thank you. I thought something like that, but I wasn't positive. I wanted to make sure I asked before I voted either way on this. That is the only recommendations I have at this point, other than the 1,000 foot from each other kind of concerns me that we don't do that with every other business, but I understand.
Well, we do that with SOBs or sexually oriented businesses, but
okay,
that's not handing out. Okay, so we have heard Andy's comments. Sherry, I've heard you have comments. You want to follow up on any of that?
No.
Thank you. Judy?
Nope, I'm all.
Okay. Don't mind my forehead. I'm looking at the pictures down below. Pat?
I'm good.
Okay, Paul?
Yes, a couple things.
Okay.
I guess when we refer to a couple of people tonight, one is the nice folks that came in. I don't know if it was last year that have a grow operation down there by Sullivan Road.
Andy McQuinlan?
McQuillan.
Okay, McQuillan, yes. So we referred to that, and now we're referring to the operation up here by Grandma's Kitchen, right?
Yes. Or
Which is Steve and his wife, Azelle.
Interlochen Alternative Health next to whatever that Mexican restaurant.
Yes. Is there another entity here that I guess?
We had that one couple that was on earlier. Andrew Zwicki. I'm sorry I slaughtered the name, but yeah. He made a request, and his business partner, I forget the gal's name, but wanted to present something next month.
I can see his picture. I can see both of them. How you guys doing?
Yeah, I think
you guys
will
on
go
Pine
well
Tree,
with her name.
Pine Tree, you've been there forever, right? I mean, you grew up there, Andrew, on Pine Tree with your mom and dad lived there. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, listen. So my other question, Marvin, or the board would be, I noticed down, in particular down there toward Honor in Benzie County, they have a place that apparently sells recreational marijuana. Is that the right term?
Yeah, adult use marijuana. I've been corrected several times with that.
Okay, great. There was one. Maybe there are more now.
There's a couple down in that neck of the woods. There's none in Traverse City, and there's a few that are attempting to go in Kalkaska in an industrial park.
So what I had noticed in driving down through Benzie County, the one that opened, the early one there,
next across from the drive-in.
Yes, there seems to be a lot of people standing outside, and then because I'm down that way a fair amount in the summer with the kids and stuff. And am I correct that those apparently are security people?
Yes, they've contracted because the business itself cannot have any firearms. However, they can do a contract service for security of that. And then they also had employed parking lot attendants because they were up in this Northwest Michigan. At that time there's only one that allowed adult use sales that got approved for it. So everybody in Northwest Michigan took a trip to Honor, and the majority of them went through Interlochen Corner. That came from the Traverse City area.
So, in particular, we're discussing one operation, which would be the one up the Ricks Plaza. The other one is strictly a grow operation, is it not?
Correct. It's limited to a 500 plant grow operation. And currently we do allow 2 dispensaries. I think that's what it's called. And the proposal, the thought process as well, okay, we'll reduce it to 1. Even if we reduce it to 1, we did give approval to 2, but one's having a hiccup at the state level, which is going to be heard January 27th and 28th down in Lansing at the Ottawa building.
Is that the one across from Misty, across from Cherry Growers?
Correct.
Very good. So I just want to be clear that and I forgot their names again. The operation down there by Milan Supply or Sullivan Road is not retail.
Right. Andy's is strictly a grow. 500 plant. I think it's a class A.
And that's fine. Okay, those are my questions. That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The ad would be this. I guess my question would be, so is that the look? Is that we're going to have all kinds of security people and stuff out in parking lots? Is that?
They got the parking lot attendants out there and they were having some issues because of parking issues. So that's why they employed parking lot attendant, because everybody, I'm going to say, I mean, they were inundated with a lot of individuals from Northwest
Okay.
Michigan because they were the sole source for adult use
So,
marijuana.
so your thought, Mark, would be that was more indicative of the fact that they were the first people around, and as more are in there, it won't be quite as intense, maybe.
Correct.
That's it. Thank you.
That's just my thought process and analysis and talking with Benzie County and Wexford County, or not Wexford, Kalkaska County. Sorry, and I haven't heard of any approvals in Wexford. So.
Okay. Well, thanks, Mark. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions, comments, Dave?
Yeah, didn't we start yet?
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to do this quickly at this meeting. I would really like to sit around with the board members and bat this back and forth. You just don't drop it on a meeting and then take action. I'm not against it, but I'm not in a hurry. Our police power ordinance is very crude, and it didn't matter that it was crude when we only had one or two people under it. It's quite terrible. And to take our crude police power ordinance, cross off recreation, cross off medical, and put in recreational, doesn't cut it in my mind. I want to see what's, a more modern ordinance. I'm really concerned about the process of how somebody applies and who gets it. And we do first in time. We don't do a lotto. We don't do a point method. There's a lot of other ways to do this. I really don't understand limiting it to one. I'd rather go unlimited, not limited to one. One looks like we're playing favorites. Just make it unlimited and let anybody do it. And again, I don't think we can do this without also examining our zoning ordinance. We had much discussion about not allowing retail marijuana anywhere between the light at the corners and the Arts Academy. So I thought we had put something in place to eliminate that, and you're telling me, no, we don't. So without also looking at our zoning ordinance, I don't think we can act on this. And I'd really like us to get us together and do it in one room.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate your position and comments on that, Dave, and the rest of the board members. But as far as us meeting in one room at this point in time, I understand your position in that regards, that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, at this point, with the MML, all the county associations, cities and village associations, township associations, and the state are saying no in-person meeting. That has to be remote. So, and there's been discussion that they're going to take that until March 31st of 2021. But this one expires the 20th, I believe. So we'll see how everything plays out.
Mark, I'd like to just do input.
There's Rudy.
I received several phone calls for people who are concerned. They would prefer board wait on this decision so that they can person. There's several of them that are for the facility, several that are the facility that would like to attend a board meeting and come face to face with Mr. Ezell or possible other people who are interested in coming into the township and ask some questions of them and doing Webex. I don't know how big of a the board feels that they need to be in for this. It is something I'd like to consider getting some public input if the people are contacted, like to speak to people in person, ask questions. One of the questions was traffic concerns, how many people are going to be actually coming to the facility, security at the, that kind of thing. So I did tell them that I would pass that on to the board members for consideration too.
Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Judy. Anything else, Judy?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, Andy?
One of the things I think we need to remember is we're writing an ordinance for the township. We're not writing an ordinance for one individual or two individuals. We're writing this for the entire township. Not targeting anyone or not targeting anyone. So it's coming in and interviewing people who may potentially be interested in doing it before we pass the zoning ordinance sounds, I'm going to say, wrong.
You got it totally backwards, Andy, because ours says you have to have medical before you can get recreational. Well, guess what? There's only 2 people in the world that fit that application. So it looks like we're fitting it for 2 people only, the opposite of what you just said out loud out of your mouth.
Well, I think people that I would like to address the board their concerns and find out what the board's plans are moving forward with this, if it how it's going to be controlled. Most of them have no idea how much money the board or the township will receive from this. There's a lot of questions they would like to ask, and so.
Okay, any other questions, comments? I see, actually, I can see the little picture of Andrew that was on earlier and his business partner Sutton, I believe. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but they're sitting there too with some questions on, from what I can see. They'd like to have it delayed as well so they can participate in discussions like they requested under public input, if I understood their presentation correctly. You can shake your head yes or no, Andy, if I understood.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So you did.
Thank you. So what's the board's pleasure in regards? I guess with this conversation, we addressed the police power ordinance, the police power ordinance amendment repeal, and the police power ordinance recreation marijuana. Those are the 3 items that we have combined in our discussion. And without one, the other 2 won't happen. So I'd like to take action, if at all possible, on, well, we'll see what one is. And if one goes for postponement, so we're not going to table it. We're not going to bring it back up to this meeting. We'll postpone it to a future meeting. We'll leave it open so we can hopefully have in-person meeting like Trustee Baganowski indicated. So what's the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to postpone any type of activity on these items meetings when we can meet in person.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Kramer to postpone action on the police power ordinance amendment provisioning centers, police power ordinance amendment repeal, and the police power ordinance recreation marijuana. And it was supported by Trustee West. Is that correct? Does that sound right, Judy? Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, please have a roll call.
Yes, I have discussion.
Oh, who's speaking?
Paul.
Oh, okay, Paul. Sorry.
Okay. This is reminding me of the old rotary phones with the party line type of action. I date myself, but I will say that this is a difficult forum to get a lot of different ideas on the table. And I think that's a good thing to do with this. I think we can move forward to this. It's just difficult right now not being able to meet. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the township that would probably like to hear it, talk for it and against it, and maybe have some good ideas. They usually do on ways we could improve it if we do move forward. So in the motion here to postpone, Judy, you mentioned till we can all get together in public or something, or maybe we could workshop this somehow under this video chat system. I don't know what, there's a number of questions that seem to be coming up with the board, and including the location up there, which I'm more in favor of, I guess, in the village boundaries personally, as far as the DDA boundary. But anyway, that's my only comment on this, is that I'm again supporting to postpone this. However, we may have to try to work our way through this, as difficult as it is, and as slow as this winter may be to do this. I'm in favor of having more discussion on this. That's it.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, Marv, just real quick, if you guys don't have chat, I sent out a chat. I believe the attorney for the Grand Traverse County Road Commission has told their board that they can have up to 20 people in the same location and a hybrid meeting. So he's interpreting the DHSS orders differently than MTA is. I say we do this face to face.
Yeah, well, it's the MTA, MML, and Association of Counties. So, but however we want to do it, that's what we can do. I mean, I can talk into a microphone as well as talk into a room, so I'm good either way. So we have a motion by Kramer, supported by West, to postpone action on the Police Power Ordinance Amendment Provisioning Centers, Police Power Ordinance Amendment Repeal, and Police Power Ordinance Recreational Marijuana. Does that stand correct, Judy?
Correct.
And Sherry?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Marek,
No.
Biondo,
Yes.
Yes.
Viganowski, Kramer, yes,
Yes.
and Radtke.
No, motion carries 5-2 to postpone action on the three police power ordinance amendment provisions. The next item on our agenda is appoint board of review members. This is the year that we have to appoint, and they have to take oath of office within 10 days of January 1st, and our meeting won't happen until after January 1st, so this request is at this board meeting. And the recommendation from Mr. Muha, our assessor, is to reappoint Ben Kamerska, Andrea Gallup, and Richard Bark as board of review members whose terms would expire 12/31 of 2022.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make that motion that we appoint those three as recommended by our, as Mr. Muha recommendation.
I'll second it.
We got a motion by Andy Marek to appoint Ben Kamerska, Andrea Gallup, Richard Bark to board of review, terms ending 12/31/2022, supported by Sherry West. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Kramer, yes. Viganowski,
Yes.
Biondo,
Yes.
West, Marek,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
and Radtke.
Yes, motion carries. Ben Kamerska, Andrea Gallup, Richard Bark are appointed review members until 12/31/2022. The next item on our agenda is the amendment employee handbook.
Wait. What about the alternate?
We don't have any at this time.
So you don't want Katie Clark appointed as alternate?
I don't believe that was what was mentioned.
Or does Mr. Muha want Katie Clark appointed as alternate?
Got her listed in email.
What's that?
She has her listed in email.
Okay. Now let's take a look at our alternates. Does anybody have a motion for our alternates?
Go
ahead, Pat.
I'd move to appoint Katie Clark as alternate to the Board of Review for the term proposed, if any.
Second.
We have a motion by McDonald to appoint Katie Clark as an alternate board of review member until 12/31/2022, supported by Baganowski. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
McDonald,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Yes.
Biondo,
Yes.
Viganowski,
Yes.
Kramer, yes, Radtke.
Yes, motion carries to appoint Katie Clark as an alternate to our board of review member, term expiring 12/31/2022. Thank you, Pat, for that pointing out. Next, we'll move on to amend the employee handbook, holidays. Instead of having people mute and unmute, I believe there was discussion with our fire chief with the clerk and others, to remove the day after Thanksgiving as a paid holiday means that we're closed anyways. Am I correct in that assumption, Judy?
Correct.
Thank you.
Currently, the fire department guys, the way that it's actually get paid holiday pay for that day after Thanksgiving. So it was agreed upon between the new chief and myself and Mr. Radtke and Mr. Marek. Send it to the board to just have it moved. There isn't any question.
Yeah, Doug Fack and Mike agreed also that we should remove the Black Friday from the holiday list. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to remove the day after Thanksgiving from the paid holiday list in the employee handbook.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Andy to remove Thursday or the Friday after Thanksgiving from the employee handbook, supported by Kramer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Biondo. Biondo? Did we lose him?
I thought I heard him say yes.
Okay. West?
Yes.
Kramer, yes. Biganowski?
Yes.
Marek?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Radtke?
Yes. Motion carries. Day after Thanksgiving has been removed from our employee handbook. 7-0. The next item on our agenda is the TBA ISD 2021 summer tax collection. This has been brought forward by Andy. If the rest of the board remembers, we get to visit this annually. Andy.
I received an email from TBA ISD requesting that we address or put this on the agenda so we can collect the taxes for the summer that are levied on the summer 2021 bill. I'd like to make a motion that we enter in the agreement with Traverse Bay Area Intermediate School District to collect taxes for the school district that the school district will levy on or about July 1st, 2021, as proposed by TBISD after striking the word cluster and adding the word Green Lake Township on the last page, and Director, Treasurer, and Supervisor to sign the resolution they presented.
I'll second it.
I do want to point out in that resolution, they did say that they're waiving claim to any interest that is earned on the money while it's in the township account. So we will be receiving a little bit of money for providing this service for them.
Okay, we have a motion by Andy, supported by Wes, and I'm unable to recite the motion, Andy, so if you could do it one more time, please.
I move that we enter the agreement with Traverse Bay Area Intermediate School District to collect taxes for the school district that they levy on or about July 1st, 2021, as proposed by the TBAISD, after striking the word cluster and adding the words Green Lake, and direct the treasurer and supervisor to sign the resolution.
Okay, was that the motion you supported, Jerry? Okay, any questions on that motion? Dave?
Do we charge for this, Andy? Is there a fee?
There in the agreement, it says that they are waiving the interest is the money that we're recovering from that. I believe the statute says we cannot. We do get a 1% administrative fee for collecting the taxes as a whole. I'm not positive on if we can charge them any more or not, but my belief is, from what I've been told, we cannot.
I thought we charged to hold it. Is only if the election is the only thing on the ballot, Judy? I thought we had a per.
No, Green Lake County pays for it. They don't.
We do receive.
These had we charge them for.
Oh, we do receive a per property fee. Is it spelled out in the agreement that they sent to us per our agreement of TCAPs?
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
This was the exact reason we instituted I think it's a 3% charge across the board, because we were being played against the county treasurer. So we're kind of collecting for this duty indirectly when we did that.
Okay. I remember we discussed it every time, and we thought we're using a number that's 15 years old. We've never updated it, and you guys all say, "Well, let's just eat it, even though we're losing money."
We
So-
had to, because that's what all the school system would pay. So we always had to go along with that, whatever the dollar, 347 or whatever it is per parcel. Wasn't anything else we could do about it.
Forever.
We could turn them down, but they have the option of going elsewhere to have somebody collect it.
Okay.
Any other discussion on it? Does anybody want the motion repeated? It's been stated in the record, on the record, for the record. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Judy, roll call us, please.
Iganowski,
Yes.
Yondo, Marek,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Donald,
Yes.
Kramer, yes, and Radtke.
Yes. Motion passes. We've authorized the TBA ISD 2021 summer tax collection. Thank you. Next item. It goes right with Andy, banking account discussion. Please proceed, Andy.
I was kind of surprised. As I said at several meetings, I've heard discussion about the number of bank accounts that we have at the township. And since taking office, the number of accounts has become an issue. It makes it more difficult to reconcile the accounts. It makes it more difficult to track where everything's at. We did run into an issue this weekend that we didn't have enough money in one of the accounts that the checks were drafted off of. That's my fault. I, as a treasurer, should have been checking this a little bit closer. But being new in the job, I screwed up because there's so many things to look at. I want to move forward with reconciling some of these or condensing some of these accounts down. I have had some discussions with our auditor, Trent Mulder. He said that he didn't see any issue with it. He said if a bank failed, there was going to be bigger issues than whether or not we had $250 spread in through over 50 accounts versus in all that money in one account. Before I spend a whole lot of time looking at moving forward, condensing accounts, I want to know if the board's going to favor it, because I do need board support to finally make that decision. So I kind of, you guys stand on this. Do we want to follow the FDIC requirements or to be FDIC protected, it can't be more than $250,000 in the account, or are we okay with condensing money or condensing the number of accounts we have? I'd like to look at that a little closer to the end of tax season, because it is a little hectic here in the office, but I don't want to waste my time if the board's going to vote that down and say, no, we need to keep that money spread. So I kind of need what the board's feeling is on that, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, well, thank you, Andy. I think we understand your question, and I just want to clear something up in my head. I believe reading our audit, not all of our funds are insured anyway, because we have, during tax collection time and all that, we have in excess of the FDIC requirements or the Michigan Member Credit Union or Member Credit Union Association, MCUA, insurance as well. So I'm not sure on that. Just remember seeing that in our audit in years past, saying, we're doing the best as we can. So, and I'd like to have you review it and condense where possible. And, how often has FDIC paid out?
I've actually spoke with a banker about that just Friday. And he said that the FDIC has never, to his knowledge, made a payout on that $250,000 or any bank collapse. They do a really good job of watching the banks, at least they attempt to, so that they don't have to make that payout. So it's a kind of warm, fuzzy feeling was his opinion.
Okay, real good. Any other questions? Dave, I see your hand from here.
I mean, this has come up a number of times, and I think we've always said, no, let's not let the tail wag the dog. Let's not cap each count at 250. Let's go ahead and do what makes sense. So I'm willing to do that if someone wants to make a motion to allow us to have larger balances. But Andy, there's something called a CEDAR that municipalities are allowed to use. I can't tell you the rules on it, but look it up. Marv might know what it is. It's called a CEDAR account.
I'm wondering, Andy, if you're just talking about the investment accounts, or if you're also talking about all the checking accounts too.
What I want to do is I want to know if the board is okay with me going further. I'm not looking for a motion. I'm looking for a, yeah, we're okay. I would come back with a more definitive proposal for the board to approve. I just don't want to spend the time it's going to take to figure out what accounts make sense to consolidate. It would be the checking accounts. It would be any savings accounts we have. It would be any of the investment accounts that we have. We have a lot of accounts.
We have a lot of restricted accounts because of our assessment districts and that have to be protected as well. And I don't have any issue with you investigating investment options, because I hate to invest $250,000,
Yes.
$249,999 in a 0.001% interest bearing account when we could sit there and invest $300,000 into a 3% account. I would feel comfortable in that regards there. So is that something that you were basically asking if we can file it, if we go over that a little bit? It's not an issue.
I'm looking how tight, how warm and fuzzy does the board want to feel about this? Do they want to have that blanket of false protection from the FDIC? Because if the banks do fail and the FDIC has to pay out, there's going to be a lot bigger issues, in my opinion. But it's not just my decision, it's a board decision on how far out are we willing to go out on that limb.
Yeah, I'm with Dave on that, on his previous comment regarding this. Any other questions, Sherry?
No.
Paul?
Yes.
Great. Ask away.
You might look into that CEDARS, as Dave mentioned. I think it's like a sweep account, and I'm very interested in. It was just $100,000 before the last bank fiasco about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So they did manage to raise it to $250,000 per account, I believe. I don't know that you're restricted to the bank itself, but that whatever the FDIC is. I'm very interested in having our money covered by FDIC, unless you find another insurance company willing to do it.
And see if that seeds is exempt, and if we have a savings account, checking account, and a money market account, are all three independently of 250,000, or is it per bank, per accounting type?
Well, I remind the board, it wasn't very long ago, maybe 12 years ago. I can't remember the dates, but certainly there was a big bank fiasco not long ago, and it's good to at least know you're going to get your money at some point.
Okay, let's see. Pat?
Yes, I'm all for not having too many accounts scattered all over the place. But on the other hand, if you remember names like Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, and the fact that the federal government bailed out all the big banks in our last little financial collapse. And I don't know if anyone remembers the credit unions that all went bankrupt a while back, 20 or 30 years ago. And banks do go under. Not very often, but it does happen. I'll dig up some names. But I'm reasonable.
Okay. So what I understand, let's see, Judy?
I agree with what Pat and Paul have said, and Dave.
Okay. Sherry, did I already ask you, Sherry? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay. So sounds like, Andy, that yes, please look into it and bring us back the conclusions with documentation as you've indicated.
Perfect. We'll do that.
Okay. So no action taken on that. This discussion only. So the next item on our agenda is treasurer's best practices. Is that trumpet, trombone, or?
Well, since I've taken office, I've ran into some things, and we've had the same people in this office for over 30 years. So a lot of things have been done just because that's how they've been done. And I can't find any policies or any resolutions or anything to support some of the stuff that we should or shouldn't be doing at this point. One of the issues is going to be at the end of the tax season, money is dropped in the Dropbox. Is there a policy for when tax payments have to be in the Dropbox for it to be counted for that day on that day? There's two options. One is it must be there before the close of business on the day that it's due. The other option is for payment to be in the Dropbox by the start of the next business day. This allows people who work to drop payment in after work so that they're on time. My suggestion is that at this time we adopt at least a policy for this tax season to count money paid on time if it's in the Dropbox before the start of business the day after it's due to provide service for our residents. This policy needs to be communicated to residents. Normally it would be on a tax bill. And since it wasn't on this tax bill saying it's got to be in the Dropbox before we close the business, I think it's a good service to them, and it makes it clearer that it have to be in the Dropbox before February 16th, start of business on February 16th. So as a result, I'd like to make a motion that since the current tax bill does not state the payment needs to be at the office prior to close of business, the treasurer accept and post payments received in the township's Dropbox before the start of business on February 16th, 2020, as being paid on time.
Okay, we have a motion by Andy. Is there support?
I'll support it.
I believe that was Pat McDonald supporting. The motion is as read. Please, Andy.
Since the current tax bill does not state the payment needs to be at the office prior to close of business, the treasurer accept and post payment received in the township's Dropbox before the start of business on February 16th, 2020, as paid on time.
That's the motion that was made. And is that the motion you supported, Pat?
Yeah, as long as it's legal.
Okay.
Yep. We dealing with 2021 and not 2020.
That's what I meant. Thank you.
What happens if it's a holiday? When it hits it, when it's like Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then we might be looking at almost the 17th.
Yeah, you could say next business day morning.
Instead of
this is just for this year. I'm going to be bringing a formal proposal to put into our book, so I've got that on record. The 16th is a Tuesday. That doesn't apply today.
It doesn't apply to that.
To this motion, I have a specific date for this year.
Yeah,
correct.
For this one-time collection deadline date of 2021. And the next collection, by that time, treasurer's office, aka Andy, will bring us back a resolution or a motion for future collection deadline dates. Correct?
Correct. I don't want to be doing this on my own. I want board support on however we decide to go about with some of these things because we are involved with money and the taxpayers potentially having additional fees.
Okay. Any other discussion? We have a motion by Marek, supported by McDonald. Paul?
Question.
Do you have any discussion on the motion that was made?
No.
Okay. Sure. Pat? Dave?
No.
Nope.
Judy?
Andy, what about, were you going to discuss like late payments, or they are making a payment and the payment is short? Is that part of it or not?
That is my discussion later on.
Okay.
There's a separate issue. It could be a lengthy one.
Okay.
Okay. Any other? Hearing none? Roll call, please, Judy.
Biondo. West.
Yes.
Kramer, yes. Diganowski.
Yes.
Marek.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
And Radtke.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Andy. Next item on our agenda.
Mr.
Is,
Radtke, I do have other issues under best practices, sir.
oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
No problem. Next one is the postmark policy. There's normally a policy in place by a township, at least that's what MTA said in my training I took recently, as to when a tax bill that's mailed is counted. One option is to go off of the postmark. If that's the case, you have up to 7 days from the postmark for that bill to be on time. I have not found any policy or any resolution or anything that we have that states anything on that, because it may not have been something 30 years ago it was even considered, and we just kept doing things as we always done them. Oh, my recommendation is, since we don't have a policy, the postmark, we adopted the policy is when the mail is in the office, same as the drop box. If it's in the office the day before or before business on the 16th, we accept it on that. We don't give them the postmark. So they've got plenty of opportunity to get it into the office prior to that. I just need to know if the board's on board with that. So my motion will be accept mail on the day it's received in the office for posting for the 2020 for this current tax year.
The following morning.
The when it's in the office that the mail comes in after we're opened up, so it'd be the day of.
So by 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. on the 16th of February 2021. That's what your motion is specifically for, is just the one-time event.
For this year, correct.
Then this board you'll bring it back to the board for an official resolution for future election deadline. Okay. We have a motion by Andy. Is there support?
Second.
Pat. Okay, any discussion?
I have. That
Jerry.
isn't gonna work because a letter from me to somebody else in Interlochen takes a week. So our postal service isn't good enough that if I was to mail my taxes on Friday saying they were due on Monday, that they would get there. There's no way. Because I don't know, they'll send it over to Acme or maybe they'll send it to Kalkaska and that. So I don't think that's a good thing for this year.
I think you should go by the same thing we do for ballots, which is the postmark on the envelope.
I agree right there.
Because our mail from here goes to Grand Rapids, comes back. So for on the ballot, do the postage date on the
Okay, Paul.
I'm sorry. Repeat the question. I'm having trouble hearing you, Marv.
Okay, there was a motion made by Andy, supported by Pat, to say that mailed tax payments received by 8 a.m. on the 16th of February 2021, one-time event only, would be considered paid on time. Not using the postmark. It has to be physical presence with it at the office by 8 a.m. on February 16th to be considered on time.
Okay, good luck with that, but I think you got to use the postmark. I mean, you'll be closed out for 5 days after that anyway. So, but sure, if that's what you want to do.
Okay, so Judy, already you talked on this. You got anything more, Judy?
No, I just think that you might want to check. It might be law.
Okay.
It can be either one, but the township has to have a resolution or a
motion or action.
Correct.
Okay, Dave.
I'm good either way. I really don't care. I just had made a motion that I thought was easiest and cleanest. If it gets one.
Okay. Myself, at this point in time, it's going to take you a little bit, Andy, so it may not be a bad thing to have up to 7 days for you to put things in order this time.
Okay, I'll withdraw that motion and make a new motion then to go off of the postmark not to exceed. It's got to be in the office prior to close of business, February 22nd, 2021, as per the statute. You've got 7 days from the day it's due.
Okay, we have a motion by Marek. Is there support?
Second.
Put an exceed on there, just do postmark.
Because the state statute actually has 7 days in it. So if it's postmarked on the appropriately and it takes 2 weeks to get here, that would be late by the state.
You know how many people are gonna be on your butt about that? Because the mail, slow, I'm gonna tell you right now, like I said, everything goes to Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I've already made that comment as well. Well, we have a motion.
I don't want the Treasury Department on my butt either.
So we have a motion by Andy to accept postmarked tax payments no later than February 14th and received in the office no later than February 22nd. Do I stand correct?
That is correct.
And we had a support by
McDonald.
Pat. Thank you, Pat. Any further discussion?
I don't think he has any choice. They say that's the deadline. That's the deadline.
Concur. Okay, roll call, please, Judy.
Biganowski,
Yes.
Yondo, West,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Kramer's gonna say yeah. Radtke,
Yes, he'll deal with the people and the fallout if there is any. Motion, motion passes. Any
Yes, I have.
further treasurer best practices?
This one is, I have full control over the tax account. That's one that's in my name only. However, I do want the board to be aware that we currently have 2 tax accounts. One is at TCF Bank, formerly known as Chemicals, that's down here on the corner. The other one is at Traverse Catholic Federal Credit Union. I wanted the board to know that I'm not ready to close that second account at TCF because we have ACH payments going into there and the credit card payments going in. But as soon as this tax season closes, I will be closing the TCF account to keep it at the bank here closest, so we're not making, drives all the way to Chum's Corners to make that deposit. Unless there's any issue from the board and wants me to act quicker and try to shift everything around in the middle of this.
TCF just got bought by Huntington, right?
Correct.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so we're gonna be, yeah. I have no issues with you doing that, Andy. It's the tax account. The less driving you have to do, especially during the winter months, it's probably a lot easier and better.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead, unless anyone has any objection, to keep both accounts open until after February when the final ACH payments and stuff are processed. There's a lot going on here. I don't want to be doing anything without the board being aware of the changes that may or may not be happening after 30 years of how we've always done it. So if it seems long and drawn out, I apologize for that. Next thing is there's an account with official payments. That's who does it's a service of ACI. That's who's used to process our credit card payments from on our website. I may need board action and minutes, like any other account, to remove Sue's name off the account and put my name on there. The problem is I'm once again in the middle of tax season. I don't want to mess around with something and have it shut off for a minute and they end up with our money our taxpayers have paid. So I'm going to make a motion that we authorize the treasurer to work with official payments through this tax season as it is set up, and then work to remove the previous treasurer from the account and place the new treasurer onto the account.
Why limit it to just that one vendor? Let's just do one motion that says you get to switch your name on all township accounts. Why do we even have to do this at all?
Support.
My issue, Mr. Biganowski, is that this isn't a bank account. This is a vendor that we're dealing with. So I wasn't sure if they would accept all accounts because it's not necessarily an account as they may see it.
We'll do a resolution and fix all that.
Do you have a resolution that would hold up to the legal standings? Because I thought simply by being the treasurer and state statute saying that I was to be on accounts would be sufficient. However, the banking institutions want minutes that specifically say that I'm to be put onto the bank accounts.
Well, we can make a motion to say that we'll remove Sue Schroeder, treasurer, and replace with Andy Marek, treasurer, on any and all accounts and vendors associated with collecting funds
For
at
Green
the
Lake
township level.
And the only thing with this one is I don't want to mess around with this account because we're in the middle of tax season right now. And I'm afraid that by messing around with it, trying to change things, it could screw up credit card payments that are processed. So
Put the
that was
resolution
another
in your
reason.
pocket and use it when you want to.
Either that or bring it back to the January board meeting, or you can put on there to make it effective February, whatever. Too.
But Andy's talking about two different things you guys are missing. He's talking about a vendor, which is just somebody charging us to use their services. So that's
Right.
what he doesn't want to mess up, right, Andy?
That is
And
correct.
then you've got all the other bank accounts that you need to get on and get Susie off, right?
Correct.
Correct.
So
And
then
one needs to happen tomorrow. The other one needs to happen at a later date.
Have you talked to the vendor?
I have not reached out to the vendor yet.
Yeah, see if it just could be a simple name change. I mean, not do anything unless it is just a simple name change. Then it's at your comfort level. But go ahead, Sherry. I'm sorry. Did you have anything else?
the fact that it's two different things we're talking about, so we should handle them separate. And you're right about he should just call the vendor and see what he says. And then we should make a motion saying that effective November 20th, I guess it was, Andy's now on all of our accounts, all our different banking and financial accounts, and Susie's off them.
Okay. Paul, Pat, any input on that, or do you?
Whatever happens, and I understand it's stressful. I think that, Marvin, enough of us can get together and have a board meeting the next day or then the 8-hour notice to do whatever you need, I understand what you're saying. You're saying ACH, is a different bailiwick, so if you can let that ride, that'd be fine. But
Okay.
I
So-
realize it's stressful.
So is the assumption at this point that we don't need to take any action on the, with this vendor until I want to remove that, switch the accounts over?
Yeah, that's
how I'm taking it. We'll move on to my next one then. One of the things that's been happening here in the township is we have several families that may or may not get along and are having separate tax bills sent on property that's handed down from family to family, generation to generation. And I'm receiving partial tax payments. Now, when I went through the training through MTA, they said that they really don't recommend doing that you receive the full payment because we're not a banking institution. We're not lending money. We're not extending credit, et cetera, et cetera. So I've had some issues where the tax payments have come in over or come in under. And with the board's action, I can continue the way we've gone, or I can return a check that's not sent properly. If I receive a partial payment, I send it back and say, sorry, we need full payment. Either way, it's not a decision. It's just mine. It's a decision that needs to be made by the board, in my opinion. I think the first option is the cleanest, and that's to send a check back with a new tax bill explaining we can't process payment to their taxes. I don't think that's the right thing, the cleanest and easiest way. Second option, to process the payment that we receive, and if they overpaid, send a refund check from the tax account to them. If they underpay, apply the amount they sent and send their tax bill back to them with the new amount they still owe. Third option is a little more complicated, but I think it's a much better service to our customer or to our residents. And there becomes a point where we're sending these letters back and forth, and we're including a fee. So if they're off by a penny, I spend 50 cents to send them a letter to say you owe me a penny. They spend 50 cents to send me that penny. That's kind of ludicrous. But if they don't send that penny, then their tax bill's in arrears. The county for collection. So if we were to set a threshold that the township will write off, if you will, an amount over or amount under, so we don't have to send back a bill sending that you need to send us a check for 25 cents or your taxes are past due. I think that would be best. So I'd like to go ahead and process the payments, if the check is under for less than $5, and have it right off that amount. If it's short $5.01, we'll apply the amount to that account and send a new bill stating that they still owe whatever that amount happens to be. Once again, this is a board decision. I don't know how things have been handled in the past. I'm told that we're taking partial payments. We have been for as long as these people can remember. But it puts me in a really precarious position not having board support on whatever we do. Because it is the township that I'm representing on this one. So what is the board's feeling on this?
I think you should take partial payments.
Well,
I don't think you're going to be able to. You're going to have the exact amount. I don't think that you were able to forgive anything or add anything. I think you got to write them a check for a penny or accept a check for a penny. But I believe that's the way it is. I could be wrong.
Harry?
Do they ever get the rest of the payment? Is that initial, Andy?
I have a check I received today that was 7 cents short.
That isn't what I meant. If they're doing a partial payment, I'm assuming it's a situation where there's 5 family members each paying a portion of the taxes. Do they ever not pay all the taxes?
I cannot answer that question since I've been in office 3 weeks.
Okay, because I know they'll lose the property. I've been in a situation like that. And it goes into back taxes, gets collected.
Correct.
Do
But
you,
when I went through,
do you send out a partial payment to them? If they got any kind of agreement with the treasurer's office that you split it up, like they get 10%, somebody else gets 50. So you send a bill to them, or are you just sending a bill to somebody that is on the property, and then they have to split it?
so apparently there's 3 sisters who own a piece of property here in Green Lake Township together, and they live in 3 different parts of the country. And historically, we've been sending out 3 different tax bills. The problem is there's only a location to send 2 tax bills. Every time a tax bill goes out, we get a call. We need to fix this. We're a bunch of idiots that don't know how to do what they want us to do. BSNA software does not allow us to put additional more than 2 addresses to get mailed. Typically, one is the mortgage company, one is the property owner. We send a bill out to both of those. Here, this is one of 3 or 4 unique cases I've been told where the families are each sending in a partial check. I don't have a problem collecting the partial check. I guess my big issue is if the check comes in and it's 7 cents short, do I send them a bill for 7 cents? If a partial payment comes in, do I send it back to them and say, I'm sorry, we need a complete payment. You 3 or you 12 or whatever family members need to play nice and send me 1 check. Send each other a check, get together, send me 1. But for 30 years or more, they've been accepting these partial payments. I don't know what they've been doing, if they've been short or over.
Well, you're not sending them an invoice, you're sending them a receipt. If they don't pay
it's an invoice.
It is?
It's a tax bill. Some municipalities will do an accommodation and send out more than one address. Don't have to. It just causes trouble, like Andy's finding.
And then when it's sent out, they divide it up. Is what's happening. That's how Andy would be short or over.
That is one issue that's come up, yes.
But Paul is right. We can't forgive even a penny. We're not a private business. Private business can do that. We can't. We got to be stupid and use a 50-cent stamp to get a penny.
Right.
I'm fine with whatever the board tells me to do as long as it's been the legal grounds. I'm just going off what other treasurers have said at that training I did, that we forgive 5 cents, we forgive a penny, we forgive. I really don't care either way. I just want to know what this board wants me to do this year.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, I'm sorry, Judy, did you have any additional comments or any comments?
Nope.
So what I'm hearing from the gender of the board discussion is move to authorize partial payments and to not forgive any shortfalls of a tax bill. Is that what I understood?
I think we have to
Paul,
accept
Dave?
partial payments, but yeah, it'll go to foreclosure if it's not full eventually.
Okay, Pat, does that sound?
Yeah, that's a good start.
Okay.
So for this tax year, I would move that we accept partial payments. We send a invoice out or the receipt out for the payment showing the amount still due with a note on there circled still owed, and send a refund check for any amount that's paid over out of the tax account.
Support. Motion made by Marek to accept partial payments and to send a receipt indicating any amount owing.
And send refund checks for any amount over out of the tax account.
And send a refund check out of the tax account for anything over. That was a motion by Marek, supported by Radtke. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Judy.
West,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Marek,
Yes.
Piganowski,
Yes.
Biondo,
Yes.
Kramer, yes, and Radke.
Yes, motion carries. Any other treasurer's best practices, Andy?
That is all I've got for best practices. The next one, I'm ready to move on to the next item, which is also me.
Okay, remove previous treasurer off all accounts. Andy, proceed, please.
I'm going to start by making a motion that former treasurer Suzanne Schroeder is removed from all Green Lake Township financial accounts, and treasurer Andy Marek is placed on those accounts in the same role that the former treasurer had been assigned.
I'll second it.
We got a motion by Marek, supported by West, to remove Suzanne Schroeder from all financial accounts and replace said accounts with treasurer Andy Marek. Was that the motion you supported, Sherry?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Dave?
I don't think it's necessary. There are 1,800 municipalities in the state of Michigan. If every election season, 1,800 of them had to switch their treasurer out, that's not how it's done. I don't think it's necessary. I don't know why Andy wants it. I'm voting against it.
Yeah.
Because
well,
I went to the bank and they wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah, all these banks up here require it. We had to do it before with Judy a couple years back. We had to have the minutes supported with the signature cards.
They want to see the minutes, Dave.
Even though Andy presented that, yeah, we got the certificate from the state saying you are the trustee, you are the Green Lake Township treasurer, you are. They wouldn't take it. I don't understand. But anyways, we got a motion support. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Judy.
Marek,
Yes.
Biondo,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Piganowski,
No.
Kramer, yes, West,
Yes.
Radke.
Yes. Motion carries. Andy, proceed once you have the minutes from the draft minutes. We still have 19 participants. I'm impressed. Thank you, everybody, for staying on.
So Rhonda, if we could maybe speed up the minutes for this meeting, put a little rush and get signature card sign checks.
So you're saying you want them later this week? I can do that. Yeah.
Are they done tonight yet, Rhonda?
Probably not tonight. Not tonight.
Okay.
But I'll do
Motion carries.
the next day or so. Yes.
Thank you. So with that, I believe we got that done. We're moving on to reestablish the SAD district for the invasive Eurasian water milfoil. Typically it's the 5-year mark coming up on Duck Lake. And as we discussed this past summer, Cedar Hedge Lake is being inundated with the same type of invasive species, the Eurasian water milfoil. with the sad district of Duck Lake. I believe Mr. Dewey's, hopefully, yep, he's still on, that I can see. The previous special assessment district for Duck Lake was township sponsored just because of the amount of properties and the amount of time that it would take to have a champion do that. And I guess I'm looking at if we continue to do the same thing, have a town-sponsored SAD district for Duck Lake, and while we're at it, to establish a special assessment district for Cedar Hedge Lake. It's about a $23,000 anticipated action on Cedar Hedge Lake. For the first plan of attack, it could go as high as $32,000. From the emails that we received from Brianna for Cedar Hedge, and the same process would be still going for Duck Lake. What's the board's discussion and will?
Are you saying to do Cedar Hedge without a petition from the residents?
Just like we did with Duck Lake.
We had a petition from the residents with Duck Lake.
Yes, we did.
Nope.
Yes, we did.
Yes,
We had a
did.
request.
It's too hard to get a petition.
Yes.
There's too many of them.
We did not have a SAD petition of Duck Lake. We've had written requests to establish a SAD district on Duck Lake. And the first treatment, the township picked up.
That was a timing.
What's that? I heard Paul and Dave, I think.
You said we picked up the cost of the first treatment. But that was a timing thing.
Right.
Mhm.
And the SAD district that we
The
established.
SAD district wasn't done?
Yes, and it was, if we tried to do a SAD district, it would have been beyond the treatment time that would have been permitted by state.
For that year.
I see for that year, yes. What I'm gonna ask is Ed Dewey, who is the president of the Green Lake Duck Lake Association, that also sponsored this agenda item to speak. Mr. Dewey, if you could, give us your knowledge of the history of when this district was established in Duck Lake.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Y'all
I
can hear me? Okay. In 2015, we discovered that there was Eurasia water milfoil in Duck Lake. One of our residents discovered it. The trip out into the lake that Mr. Adams was talking about, we did that in 2017, specifically to pull some Eurasia water milfoil and have it DNA tested to prove that it was an invasive species. In order to act quickly, the township helped with the funding. We spent all the money we had in Duck Lake Invasive Species Fund, and the township picked up the rest of that bill. In 2016, we were able to establish a special assessment district, and it was initiated by the township, I think Public Act 188. And we had the 2 public meetings, and it passed resolution. Sent the financials and the resolution number and the timeline of when all that took place. And so we, in 5 years, our objective was to review our success. The financials on that have really, we come in under budget, and we've been able to control the Eurasia water milfoil. We've gotten a lot of input from the residents when they find it to help us go out and locate it. So my recommendation for the renewal would be to, which I think the township has to do. I don't know if we need to put it for bid. I would suggest there's a video that was sponsored by Higgins Lake Foundation that's called No Silver Bullet. It's out on YouTube, and it went through a lot of the different lake management techniques that lakes have tried, including the Weevils dash where they sucked up biomats. And I think there's something to be learned there. I also included in the study a fish study from the DNR that compared 2008 to 2018 that showed there was no real impact on the fish species in the lake. So hopefully we can do the same thing we did in 2015, 2016. There are 300 plus residents on Duck Lake to try and get a petition and get them all in a timely basis, I think would be more difficult than initiating it at a township level. Is there anything else like you guys like that would help?
Well, at this point in time, if we'd go after a special assessment district, we'd go through the same process that was started back in 2015 and finalized in 16, is that we had established a district, which would be a lot easier. I believe Mr. Muhall already has that, just update the names and owners. Then we'd go out for bids from several different entities and go out, and they would do like we did before. They'd go out and do an assessment, location assessment of the lake prior to treating. So that's we would be starting from scratch in this regards here, and establish that district. And being that we're in that process, we've been working with Cedar Hedge Lake for the last, I don't know, 18 months, give or take. Judy, correct me if I'm wrong. And the same thing goes there, because we got all the way around the lake. And so just have a township sponsored special assessment district for invasive species in Duck Lake and Cedar Hedge Lake. Okay, I'm taking a look to see if there's anything there. What would be the, my recommendation is that we establish a special assessment district for invasive species in Duck Lake and establish a SAD district for invasive species in Cedar Hedge Lake.
Support.
Who is that supported? Dave? Okay, we got a motion by Radtke, I guess, and supported by Baganowski to establish SAD, go for a SAD district for invasive species for Duck Lake, and same action and activity for Cedar Hedge Lake.
Mr. Supervisor, can I ask a question at this point?
Yes, Andy.
So if we go through with this board action today, is there any way for the citizens who live on that lake that are interested in a SAD district to come to the board to ask that we don't do that, or to override the SAD district? I know before it was by doing signatures and stuff, they could get it done and there was nothing to be done, but I'm not sure on if, I'm a little nervous voting on something.
It's the same process. It's the same process with any special assessment district. We have to go out for 2 public hearings at least. First to establish, okay, who's all involved, and then we go out and get estimates. Typically, the people don't like that. They want the estimates before the first public hearing. So we tried to accommodate them. So they have 2 opportunities to protest and to put their position statements, so they still preserve their right and ability, or their ability and their right to go to the Michigan Tax Tribunal to appeal said assessment. So
this is just starting the ball rolling. This isn't actually creating it and everything's done. This is in lieu of petitions from the residents.
Yeah, there'll be at least 90 days prior to any type of formal action, as far as, yep, you have to do A, B, and C. Because as you say, you got tax collection, and tomorrow at 9 o'clock, we have board review, and that starts, that goes to March. So yeah, the assessor is going to be a little busy on that aspect. So yes, there is opportunity in public hearings.
We have to remember too, we have to keep in mind that the first treatment in the spring, so we do need to keep that date in mind too, to make sure that we don't miss that first treatment. That's very crucial.
Yes, I mean, so we'll have until May or June. I'm trying to think when the treatment was. Mr. Dewey might be able to assist me on the first treatment. Maybe it was the first part of July was the first treatment. Mr. Dewey,
Yeah,
leave me.
our first
there you are.
treatment, our first, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Our first treatment, Duck Lake, was 2016 in June. That spring treatment is when the treatments are most effective. And so it's crucial that you are out there in the spring before it really gets established, because it's hard to knock back once it's established.
Okay, so June
And
has
I
been
think
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I think getting new vendors to provide estimates and looking at new methodologies is a great idea, because it's a good opportunity to have other people. I've talked with people on Long Lake and with the Little Platte Lake Improvement Association, and they have other vendors that may be able to add to the value of our special assessment district.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Long Lake Township approaches Green Lake Township to help facilitate cost for Eurasian Water Milfoil in Long Lake. We do own the south end of shorelines, but that being said, it's another topic, just food for thought for future. So we need to have a typical treatment sometime in June, give or take a little bit. And yes, I agree that we should send out for bids and for treatment options as well.
Okay, your answer to Andy wasn't actually the correct answer, because if the people had to go out and get a SAD district, get the signatures and that, then if you're against it, you wouldn't sign. So we wouldn't have all the properties. If the township does it, you just slap everybody in a certain area and then we run it. How do those people get out of it?
We have to send them letters saying that, you know, a special assessment district is looking to be created. Everybody within that district would receive a letter indicating such action. And it's also stated in that letter that you can show in person or via letter that you are either in support or oppose. And if you are in opposition, you must submit a letter or be in person and make that statement that you oppose the special assessment district to preserve your right to go to the Michigan Tax Tribunal to appeal that district. It's just like everybody else. We can send a letter first and foremost out saying, hey, just like what we did with the first special assessment district. There's 2 public hearings that have to be notified and published, and just like what we've done with the Bush Road project, Wintergreen Avenue.
But they all got to have enough people that wanted it before the board went to any of that, through any of that. So if the people on Cedar Hedge Lake, if we go out there and they don't want it, somebody goes out and sends out petitions, and they don't get enough people to sign, then it's dead on arrival. We don't have to monkey with any of the other stuff. By us going the way we did with Duck Lake, we almost ram it down their throat, because here it is, and we did all of the stuff. So
I disagree with ramming it, because we make a request. Are you in support or are you against? Please let us know. That's what the first public hearing is all about. And just like, did we have all the road petition signatures to pave Interlochen?
We had a percentage, the higher percentage, which is important.
Was that a township sponsor, or was that circulated throughout all the roads that we paved in Interlochen? No, I mentioned the village of Interlochen. Paul might be able to help me out on that, but
that was a special assessment that he brought in.
Almost all of our special assessment districts.
And that's why it stops right there on that 2nd Street or something up there.
And it's all public Act 188, but in the case of a lake, Eurasian milfoil, what we did on Duck Lake, it's done a little differently instead of by front footage on the road. It seems to me there's lake frontage and there's acreage, some other formula. But when we initiate, there's a little bit of a different process. If there's enough people that don't want to do it, there's a process for them to stop it.
Yes.
Not a referendum, but anyway, it's another petition process. But in the case of Cedar Hedge Lake, and by the way, I heard kind of your motion. I guess I'd like to hear these two issues separately. Duck Lake, I know that's time maybe to reestablish. And then there's also, now we're talking about Cedar Hedge, which is going to be a separate district.
Correct.
So we know there's a number of people on Duck Lake that are aware of this, and Green Lake, and they've got an association, all those things, and 5 years of history. That's great. But in the case of Cedar Hedge Lake, did we get a core group together that will be sending us a request to establish this? Because I don't want to just establish it without somebody saying, hey, we got to do something about this. Besides, hopefully there's a couple people on the lake that know about it and are going to request this of us.
Just on the west side of the lake, Judy, correct me if I'm wrong, we've had several stop in and make a request to get the aeration water milfoil treatment out there. That's on the west side and also on the south side, I believe. Dean owns that. And I mean, what we could do is send an intro letter out. We're not establishing a district. We're making a request to see if a district is
I think
going
we
to be
talked
established.
Didn't we talk about this last year?
Well, we've had seven or eight people that have stopped in and discussed it with us at the office.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good start if we had those people pen a little letter or put their names on all on one letter. It doesn't matter to me, but at least it's coming from the people that are the owners on the lake.
Oh, make a written request to us so we can send out if you're interested, yes or no, and then we can start.
I've heard about this for the last year since Brianne and I'm sorry, maybe Ed was involved in that. Understanding that you found some raised milfoil on Cedar Hedge Lake, but hopefully we want to get a core group together. You know, maybe a few people on the west side, a few people on Harmony, and wherever. That way, they can start telling their neighbors about this.
Yeah, we had neighbors come in, and to verify, I went out. I took my boat out and said, "Yeah, sure. There's a lot of weeds, especially in that southwest cove." And they tried remedying that by throwing a rake in and pulling out some weeds, and of course that didn't work. Then we had, like, say, 6 or 7 stop in, and then we, asked for verification by PLM, who was already doing Duck Lake.
Oh, okay.
PLM went out there and said, "Yep, those guys are right, and gals are right." But what I'm hearing to say is make everybody comfortable is to receive a written request from property owners on Cedar Hedge Lake to initiate our inquiry to see if there's interest in establishing SAD.
Well, I mean, as we all sit in this little Zoom kind of meeting, Judy might be the only one over in this meeting that's familiar with Cedar Hedge Lake. That's an owner over there. So I mean, it'd be nice to have a couple of people that Schuster, different people that are on that lake that are concerned about it, and that way we're aware of all the issues.
That's what our first public hearing's for. We're not going to do it if people don't want it. We'll know at the first public hearing if they're for it or against it.
Yeah, it's nicer to get that a little before that first public hearing because you've kind of expedited a lot of effort, a lot of money, and if there's going to be people that don't want to do it, you might as well know about it now.
Well, you're just going to lose a month for no reason.
Well, we've talked about this last year. I'm sure, wasn't it a year ago?
Yes.
So.
Let's see. If we can get a letter sent out to Cedar Hedge Lake, that's the one that seems to be the question. Duck Lake is familiar with it. They know it's there. They know it's expired. They know they have the issue, and just trying to agree on the treatment methods. And that could be sent out for RFPs, along with the cost and the spread of the assessment. So Duck Lake doesn't seem to be an issue. Cedar Hedge Lake just should have an informational meeting. Then, if there's enough interest to spread it out there, to go through the SAD district to hold the first public hearing so people could be on record for or against. Am I understanding that correct, Paul?
Yeah, I just a little concerned that we're separating these two issues. They're not one and the same. One is Duck Lake, one is Cedar Hedge Lake. Right. There's two separate districts here. Happen to be related, but in that they're raising milfoil issues. But other than that, I definitely would like to take Duck Lake separate than Cedar.
Okay. With that being said, I'll withdraw my motion and would in regards to the establishment of doing duck or SAD districts.
I mean, was there something I missed in all that? I mean,
no.
Green Lake Duck Lake Association, is concerned about all the water, as we all are.
Yeah.
But this happens.
They made a written request to us, so I can see that they've complied with what your thought process should be with Cedar Hedge Lake. So we're 1 month ahead of that. So I would make a motion to proceed in setting up the process to establish a special assessment district for invasive species on Duck Lake only. Okay, I got a thumbs up from.
I'll support that for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion by Radtke, supported by Marek, to establish, to start and process a SAD district for control of invasive species on Duck Lake. Any discussion?
I have a question only because I'm new on the board and I want to make sure I get this right. If I vote yes today, I am not voting to open this or to create the SAD district, just to start the process. And at the first public meeting, I can vote no if I get the feeling that this residents don't want that to occur. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct, sir.
Thank you. That's all I've got.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Judy.
Marek,
Of course I'm first. Yes.
Biondo,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Biganowski,
Yes.
Kramer, yes. West,
Yes.
Radtke.
Yes, motion carries. To proceed with establishing the SAD. Okay, Duck Lake. Now the next motion is to basically it's not a motion, is to make a request of the individuals, the 7 or 8 individuals that have already stopped in, to make a request for a SAD district for invasive species on Cedar Hedge Lake, similar to the process of when it first started. Is that correct? Is that from my understanding, Sherry and Paul? That way we're not covering it.
If they do it, don't they have to go out and do petitions?
No. They can, or we can do it, just like what we're doing with Duck Lake. There's no petitions involved in Duck Lake. It was a township sponsored.
Well, Marv, I think you're right on there. You've discussed it. You and Judy have discussed it with various people. I think it'd be nice to have those people's, have them sign on to a little document that says, hey, we're concerned about this and we want you guys to, take care of it or begin to have some public hearings.
But Paul, can't we do that simultaneously? Can't we say, okay, we'll start the process, we'll schedule a first public hearing, but before then, I want some people on record saying I want this.
I think it'd be better to have those people on record. You know what I mean? That way we're acting on, again, I don't doubt that there's a problem on Cedar Hedge. It's just, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's people that are concerned about it. I don't think there's a lot of people that know about it yet, unless there's some other mechanism that told them this. That are
okay, we can do that. We can have Judy.
It's better not to blindside the people that are on the lake. They may not know anything about this.
No, they're talking to me.
The whole lake is covered in it.
I mean, are the people on Cedar Hedge Lake? Did we send anything out that said, "Hey, there's some raising milfoil in your lake, and we're gonna"?
We have not sent no letters.
You might want to send out a memo that says, "Hey, we're going to be talking about this, and if you're, get your name on a list or something."
Yeah.
And I think we've got some email But yeah, we can send a letter.
I mean, you know, listen, Bill's going to have to rough up a special assessment district anyway, so we're going to have this long list of names, and who's going to pay for this too. By the way, it may be a little different than Duck Lake, so because of that whole all those.
We can take a look into it, make that request, because I've been on the lake, I've taken a tour, the southwest lagoon area. I won't go in there again. And same thing on the east side, on the north side of that island. I would advise not taking a motor up there. You can almost walk on it, so.
Marv, did you get a second on your motion?
No. Or you did. Andy, you said you seconded it for discussion.
Oh, that's right. It's been a long day. Sorry.
Yes, I'm looking at my notes. I'm sorry.
You did that for Duck Lake.
So any other discussion?
That was for Duck Lake.
You guys didn't do it.
That wasn't for this one. That was for Duck Lake.
Hang on, what? Okay, so I had made a motion. Is there support for the motion?
You made a motion to send out some informal letter to try and round up some people. No one seconded it. Again, I'd rather go straight to the real thing and still round up the people. Never finished.
You're saying to do that, Dave, simultaneously that way.
Motion.
Marv, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the special assessment district and request some written confirmation from the residents that have reached out to us. If we don't get any letters from those residents, we stop the process. And I think we should get at least 4 letters.
That's a lot in your motion.
Yes, sir. I'd like to keep it complicated.
So you had discussion in your motion. Meganowski supported it.
We have
So
to deal with the first motion.
It died for lack of support.
That motion died.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Marek, supported by Baganowski, to send out notices and to start the process of seeing if a STAD district will be on Cedar Hedge Lake.
To start,
I didn't tell all your discussion comments in there. I'm sorry.
To start the process, request letters of support. We want 4 letters of support before sending out our stuff, so we can start everything going. There's got to be 4 people who are going to send a letter right away, so we've got that information to make Paul happy. And then once we get those, we can send everything else out to start the SAD district. So we don't have to wait for another meeting.
Okay, you got that motion, Rhonda, Judy? And that's similar to what you supported, Dave?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Good luck, Rhonda. Okay, Kramer, yes. Biganowski.
Yes.
Biondo.
Yes.
West.
No.
Marek.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
And Radtke.
Yes, motion carries 6-1. Okay, that item is done. Now Township offices discussion. My apologies, Mr. Clatter, our township engineer had to endure the 2 hours, 34 minutes worth. But in our board packet, as requested several months ago, there's information in there regarding township options. And in that is there an opportunity to remodel this structure, and associated cost is in the spreadsheet presented by Andy Campbell. Another option is to demolish this structure, build an existing footprint for an additional $250,000. Or another option is to build east of here at an increased rate of about $500,000 from the original remodel. We still have other options available, like Golden Fellowship Hall. We also have options of doing nothing and staying the way we are, and still needing a roof replacement on this structure, et cetera, et cetera. So Ben, if you could give us a brief overview of what you've presented to the board.
Yep, I
Are
can
you
do
there,
that.
Ben? I guess.
Yep.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Everybody hear me? So yeah, just briefly, there's information in your packets. you know, we've been going through this, working through these options for 2 or 3 years now. We've looked at the Golden Fellowship Hall. You know, it really started back with the master plan process back in, I believe, 2017, 2018, where we looked, kind of came to the idea consensus that we were going to stay at the 10th Street project, or 10th Street site rather. So again, we've kind of gone around full circle, looked at the Golden Fellowship Hall, and then as a result of some issues there and the cost that would be involved with remodeling that location, worked with Marv and the staff to kind of dust off the options with either remodeling or constructing a new office at the 10th Street site. So that's what you have in front of you. Through that process, our architect helped develop a floor plan for renovations of the current building that the fire department and township offices are currently at. So that's one handout in your packet is the floor plan. That the feedback that we got really works well. We heard from Township that really works well with the closed offices, the break room, lobby area, and meeting room. Also some storage space that you can use to get some of the records out of the Mouse House. So option one was to renovate the existing structure after the fire department and EMS moves into the new fire station next door. There's a lot of work involved in that, a lot of unknowns. The building is old, it's been around a while, has had a couple of projects to add on. But the cost associated with that is at $1.655 million. That includes putting a new pitched roof on the existing structure and some outdoor or exterior improvements to make it look similar to the library and the new fire station to kind of fit that up north feel. Kind of along those same lines, really looking at what it would take to construct a new building on the same site. Hearing from township staff that floor plan, the space, the footprint, square footage really works well. So to compare apples to apples, that is basically the same building, just tear down and build new. Really, in the end, there's a couple $100,000 difference there. But there's a lot of unknowns with that existing structure. If you were to remodel it, you would really have a few walls, masonry walls, and concrete floor that would stay in place. Everything else would be new. So you really don't get a whole lot of cost savings between renovating and constructing new. The other concern is that the age of the existing structure, you know, going on 60 years on some parts of the building, and asking that to last another 60 years would be, or 60 plus years, could be asking a lot. A third option was to look at constructing a new facility to the vacant property over to the east. And that's a significantly higher cost just because of the site work, paving, roads and parking that you would need to get access to that location. There will also be some additional costs with water lines and power to relocate wells to meet isolation distance from septic. So that is quite a bit more in cost. So that's a brief overview. I can try to answer questions if you have any. But again, we really tried to compare apples to apples, the same general square footage of looking at remodeling the existing site, constructing new at the current location right next to the new fire station, and moving over to the east, just so you get an idea some of the options that are out there.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Dave?
Question for Marv and a question for Ben. Ben, shouldn't that LAFCOM have some demo in there to take out the old building?
Yeah, that is included in there.
35 grand, that's it to wipe out the fire station?
The
Jeez, you're
current
not gonna get out of
building.
bed for 35 grand.
Yep.
All right, so Marv, are you looking for a general ideas from us on where we're leaning?
For the most part, yeah, we've been talking about this. Well, I think the master plan was started in 2015, from my understanding. Remember working with Leslie and sitting on a committee for the master plan for this area here. I mean, I was asked, what's it going to take to update this building and change it so we'd have more room. We've been short of room, so we went, okay, Ben, run it with renovating this building, and happenstance, run it for a new, tear this down, build in this footprint, and for the giggles of it, how much would it cost to go across the east of us here? We already have the figure to update Golden Fellowship Hall, which is just under $500,000.
Yeah, but what are you asking us for tonight? Is it a general consensus or what?
Yeah, which way do we want to go? Is there any other ideas? I mean, there's 6 different options right now we could do. We could do renovation, new construction, existing site, new construction, undeveloped site, Golden Fellowship Hall, take no action, and or a modification step remodel of this structure. But you heard our engineer say that, the concern is the structural integrity of the structure is, 50, 60 years old, and it's unsure how long it'll last. So that's the issue. That's the elephant in the room, per se. Is there a direction that this board is willing to proceed with?
But we don't have any money for any of this, right?
We have about $500,000.
All right.
So actually, the least expensive route to go, since we've already done the roof down at the Golden Fellowship Hall, would be to do the Golden Fellowship Hall.
That would be an option, but regardless, if we're going to keep this building here for a voting precinct, I understand we can go to the library, but we're to a point where we'll probably have to split precinct 1 and precinct 2. And so would we keep this building, throw a roof on it, throw some paint up in the barns, fill in the gaps, and make that a meeting room, overflow voting room, or additional storage, or whatever the case may be? I mean, that's what I'm asking this board. We've been talking about it for 20 years plus, and serious ideas in the last 4 years. It's time to do something, because by this time next year, the fire department will be in their new structure.
One of the issues we have too is that when people came in for turning their ballots, they're coming in, turning in their taxes, they are under the belief that they voted for us to move to the new fire barn. They're not aware that what they voted on was just for the fire department. They thought it included the township office.
Yeah, and I've heard the same thing, that they thought we were moving in with the fire department. Maybe that's an option, is make the fire department structure a lot larger and just add on to that existing structure, and we're on the east side or whatever. I don't know. That's what I'm asking this board. And
Mark,
it's
one thing I can say-
deadline, it's possible.
I'm having trouble hearing. There's too many mics open.
Yeah, let's see. How do we got that? So I'm going to go through. Dave asked the question. What am I requesting? And I'm requesting a more defined guidance of which way to go. We've presented, Golden Fellowship Hall, the 3 options here presented, or we can take the action of not doing anything, but still having to put in over $100,000 into this building just to keep the roof on. Is there anything else, Dave?
Nope.
Andy?
I can tell you, being the new guy in here sitting in his office, if Judy sneezes down at the other end or whispers to her clerk anything, I'm hearing it clear as day. It's very difficult being on the phone. difficult when the assessor is talking on the phone to stay focused on what's happening in here, to be having a discussion with a citizen that comes in with a question. It's very, very, it's not a good office for conducting business. So not doing anything is not something I would support, because as we move on, the cost of the building is going to go up. And we keep talking about this, and I think we need to stay at the current facility, or at least in this area, because that's what the master plan called for. You guys spent a lot of money over a few years ago to come up with an idea of what we wanted the township to look like. I do like tearing this building down because, like it's been said, this building is old. The concrete only lasts for so long. The block only lasts for so long before it starts to lose some of its life. And the difference in the cost of a new building versus remodeling was it $250,000 or something like that, if I recall right? I mean, it wasn't a significant amount of money. You're going to get a lot longer life out of that money. So your cost per, or your value per dollar is greatly increased as far as I can tell.
$200,000 difference, Andy, right in the money.
I haven't seen anything that shows different than that it would be that we wouldn't get a bigger bang for our buck in the long run. It's a bigger expense up front, but we're looking long term. I don't want to give another board, in 10, 15 years, the same problem we've got today. So I think if we're going to do something, we got to do it right. I think we should stay here on this footprint that we're on because that's what the master plan had. We do have the ability to spread out some parking, what have you, on this property that we've got, to address some other issues later on. But I think right now, I think we need to move forward and look at getting bids and stuff to move forward on the construction of this after we get some, I think we should tear this building down and build a new structure where we are. It's very simple plan that we've got. There's some minor tweaks I'd like to see happen, but I think overall it's a pretty good plan for the needs I've seen in a couple of weeks I've been in the office.
Okay, real good. Paul, any comments?
Of them. Well, I mean, the first thought is if you want to tear down the existing building, you're going to have to displace those people that are in there for a year. Where are you going to put them? Is that not true, Ben?
Yeah. Either way you look at it, you'd have to move down to the Golden Fire or Golden Township Fellowship Hall.
At least in the interim. And
correct.
The other end, I look at the site plan with the new construction located to the east, Ben, and not that probably doesn't make some sense because the difficult with the existing building isn't great, but it is a building, maybe not suitable to remodel because of the cost differences. I do agree. Although I think the last time we got a cost on remodeling the fire station into offices was $800,000, as I recall. So the price went up.
Yep.
But I might add that to the east, I guess we'd always envision trying to get some parkland out of that, or some play center, or some activities for youth, maybe tennis, waffle ball, whatever. And then we're back at the Golden Fellowship Hall, which I don't disagree. The old library is an existing building, and we're going to have to go there in two of these plans apparently, and that was what was the cost of the remodel of that?
It was roughly $500,000.
And it's
$658,000. That was 2019 dollars. I think June 2019.
Yeah, that was with the new peak roof and everything on that, wasn't it?
Yep, I believe so. And there was a structural analysis done of that. So there were some concerns there with a sagging roof. It was actually designed to do that, but under heavy snow loads, there was some structural issues.
But we fixed that now, Ben. We fixed that with a new roof.
Yeah, so I mean, we won't hit the pitched roof on it. I mean, so that was a savings there. But I mean, so looking at $500,000 or whatever.
So let me ask you this: if you're gonna, again, tearing down the existing building and doing it means you're gonna have to put people someplace for a year. So that has to be figured out. If you build the new building next to it, now you're at 2.5, whatever, $3 million. And I mean, we have no way to. That's a lot of money. We do not have the money unless
we go for $1 million.
Yeah. How are we doing on budget with that? Because that's a lot of money. what are the payments on that? Is that this analysis here?
That's what I was trying to get. Looks like our annual debt service would be $82,565.80 as it stands of last Friday or Thursday or Friday.
Got 82 out of these payments. Is that a 30-year or 40? I'm looking at these.
That's a 30-year. That's a 30-year. And if that's with the conventional, and if we go with USDA for 40 years, annual installment debt payment would be $57,276.38 as of last week. That would be the annual payment. And we put money away every year for capital. So I mean, we'd save on that. The new building, the energy efficiency in the long run, as Andy indicated. We'd be saving money on heat, on gas, and electric. And the continual repair, because by next fall, there's going to need to be a new roof put on this facility. We had Springfield or Bloxham come in and do a temp repair on it, and they're saying that they're done repairing it. The next repair is going to be 3/4 of the roof.
Right.
So I mean, we have that factor to look into. So I think that was discussed a couple months back. Pat made a comment on that as well. So we've been lucky thus far, knock on wood, because Paul previously has been, kept up on it and had inspections in the fall and spring, and the issue's taken care of, but it's just wearing thin. Anyways, I'm sorry, Paul, continue.
Those are my short. I don't have any great answers here, except for, we're going to have to sit down with the budget and say where can we make some cuts to find this money, because it's going to cost. Yeah, we're going to save some money on energy. Not only that, Marv, as you know, dealing with old buildings is a lot of work.
Yeah, yes, it is, Paul. Thank you, Sherry.
Timing's wrong. I think that if we can get that Golden Fellowship done for $500,000, because we've already done the roof on it, that might be a solution for 5 years or so, and then look at either, well, you all kind of want to tear down that building. So, and for Ben's information, that building's only about 45 years old. So, but I think that we shouldn't go out and try spending this kind of money right now. And I don't think we should be going back to the taxpayers again, asking for another millage, because they're going to say, why didn't you plan on this when you went for that fire station and that? And so if we could get by with fixing that Golden Fellowship up, that's what we should be doing, because it's not being used now. We put the money in for a roof in that, and then the senior center and all those moved out. So it's, when I look at how many people go down there, I know COVID's an issue, but nobody's using it hardly. It's just sitting there. So,
okay.
Hey, Marv, I would like to point out we had 3 calls today about renting that hall out because, well, COVID. So we have interest in renting the hall out, and there's a potential of in the future the side that was the library turning that into another hall to rent out. There is a demand for rental spaces. So that could be a form of revenue for the township to help cover some of these costs that we're discussing today.
Okay, let's see. So we had anything else, Sherry?
No.
Okay, Pat.
I'm kind of with Sherry. I think the timing's bad. We've got a fire department we haven't even built yet. And it sounds like no matter what we do, we're going to have to move into that old library anyways. So I guess my thought would be to start that transition and see who wants to volunteer to go down there, or at least get it moving, and see how things, get the fire hall built and done, and get either summer hall of the township transition down to the old library, and sort of kind of play it by ear as we go along. I guess that's about it. Well, I guess that's about it.
Okay, so you're saying, because Sherry's saying move down there whether it's 5, 6, 7, 10 years and see how everything plays out. And regardless of what happens here, with the exception of building a brand new building, which seems to be out of the question, is that we have to relocate out of this one here down there until this one gets renovated or built in a spot.
Right.
So that's what I'm understanding from Sherry, is to move township offices down the Golden Fellowship Hall and convert that, update that for the next foreseeable future. You seem to be on the same boat as Sherry for that. Okay. And Dave.
I would rather build a new building and a new undeveloped site. I think the annual debt service is doable for our township. Yes, we'd have to go to Golden Fellowship Hall for the year it takes to build, but then we can free ourselves of the Golden Fellowship if we need to.
Okay. Judy.
Ourselves Golden Fellowship Hall because we are getting ready to divide. So we're going to have enough voting space for 2 precincts. The other thing, if we're going to do this, it needs to be set up so that off election year, so that we've got room for everybody to vote, seeing as how precinct 1 is here in this building. The other issue we have with this building is that the heating and air conditioning unit are going to have to be replaced if we stay, because we've been having issues with that.
Oh yeah, we had a little fire, didn't we?
Which is expensive. I don't like the cost of having to do a building in a new location. But I guess if you're going to put the money into it, I don't want to have to go to the voters. If we're going to do this, it would be my to find something so that we don't have to go back and ask for the people to pay for this.
Okay. I see Dave doing something, or are you?
I'm waving at my wife, not you. Sorry.
Okay, just clarification. So my direction that I'm understanding is we're status quo.
Marv, something that we need to keep in mind, we're talking about if we go to Golden Fellowship Hall, it's $500,000, $500,000 for 5 years. And then maybe look at doing something else. Whereas if we build a new building, we're looking at $80,000 a year, and we're where we're going to be, and it should take care of us for 60 to 80 years.
So we can take some of that capital money and help offset the budgetary shortfalls, if there is any, and carry us. If we have to pay $35,000 a year, that's what 15 years worth, and it's going to be paid for by then.
I'm just curious, should I put the can out on M137 and kick it a couple of times? And it seems like what the board's saying right now.
So what's the board's motion? I mean, we can sit there and narrow it down to, we can stay here, build on the undeveloped site east of us at a $2.1 or $2.2 million cost, or temporarily move down, make $20,000 adjustment down at Golden Fellowship Hall as an interim measure, so we can tear this building and down and build in its new footprint. Then we can move back here and still have $400,000, $450,000 left in capital to help pay for the $57,000 annual payment. We could split it with funding for it and taking that money out of their capital. And like Dave was saying, maybe we could do something with a GFH and reinvest that money. I mean, so there's several different options where we sit there and help subsidize the annual bond payment of $57,000 and change, with 50% coming from our capital fund and 50% coming from the township. I mean, there's several different ways of doing that. I guess what I'm looking at is, let's get it narrowed down to a direction so we can sit there and have Ben drive forward with it.
The other thing is the interest rate is extremely low right now on this. So if we drag our feet and things change in January, that rate could change completely. And what we're talking about for a payment today could go up substantially. I'm going to just for fun float a motion that we move forward with demolishing this building and rebuilding here, going through a bond or mortgage financing the way that I can't remember which one we had talked about, Myra. I'm sorry.
USDA.
Yeah, that's it. Going using USDA for financing for the maximum term.
Support.
We got a motion by Andy, supported by Dave, to proceed with tearing this building down and building in this footprint through the USDA process.
So I got a question for Sherry. Sherry, you don't think we can afford annual payments to debt service without going to the people for this?
No,
You saw the schedule, right?
the, I've got, the only
Your
thing
packet.
I've got is how much money
It's in your packet. The actual, let's say it's 80 grand a year. You don't think we can pay 80 grand a year?
nope. I
Really?
think that we're getting so far in debt that pretty soon we're gonna be losing all the money that we've got put away. I think we're overspending.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Marek, support by Baganowski to proceed with plans of demolishing the existing building in the same footprint, going through the USDA funding process. And a 40-year mortgage at today's interest rate, the annual bond payment would be $57,276. And if we didn't put anything into it, our capital fund that we dedicated for a new building would carry this for roughly 9.25 years.
You hear that, Sherry? That's what I was asking you, Sherry. That's not bad at all. It's doable.
What was the number?
The annual bond payments on, I'm looking at 1.5. Well, I guess we got to redo the numbers because
let's say it's 80 grand a year.
Okay, let me take
That's
a look
USDA.
here.
Yeah, it'll be close to that.
The payment could be somewhere in the neighborhood of, let's see, 1.7, 1.5, 57, 64, 7, 8. Yeah, it'd be close to $78,000 a year.
Not
I mean, the guess. So you're right, Dave. 80 grand a year. As rough numbers.
USDA is only good on new construction, right? Because of the length of the term that we'd want to get with them.
On 40 years, correct. That's what we were advised. There's a potential of, maybe we could make a request for a waiver, Ben has indicated, and also with Andy Campbell, but that would be a stretch. And if Jason's no longer in that position, I couldn't give you a educated guess. So we have a motion by Andy, supported by Dave, to proceed with demolition, building the same footprint, and look at a 40-year mortgage to the USDA. This is investigation mode, so we can narrow it down, so we can sit there and get it in. Any other discussion?
Yes. When
Scary.
you vote, I want it on record who votes yes and who votes no. I don't want just 4 yes and 3 no or whatever.
Yes, we've been doing roll call. It's required that we do roll call vote while we're doing audio meeting. Any other discussions, Paul, Pat?
Yes. I do think this, we could probably hone this out a little better if we workshop it, but I'll say that under this motion, that means we're going to move the goal of fellowship hall and either not spend any money or spend a certain amount of the money, as you originally said, Andy, which was a good point. So under this motion, if you tear down the existing building, you're going to have to put everybody somewhere for 1 year. That's going to require something done to the Golden Fellowship Hall. I don't know what.
We put up temporary petitions, just like what we had out here for the EMS employees and workers. Just temporary walls. That would not be a structural. Just go 8-foot walls with drywall and doors. I mean, so it's not a whole lot. So yes, we'd have to accommodate that.
And I guess, and so my other part of this is, yeah, I'd like to see where we're gonna get the money before I vote for this, sorry. That's it. Scraping out a mere 50,000 or 80,000 out of the budget is not as easy as it sounds.
Okay, anything else? Pat?
That's what the moving forward means. We're not going to build the building tomorrow. We're
hang on.
taking the next step.
Pat, do you have anything?
Figure out where the money
I'm
comes
all set.
Okay, Judy? Or did I already ask you, Judy? I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I mean, I understand that we're not gonna sit there and commit and make application to the USDA, but we can say, yes, we're gonna build a new building, and we wanna go as long as term as possible, and see what the cost is gonna be, to see what we have to take out of the budget, or what we can do with the budget impact. So I'm in support of the motion as stated, because that way we can investigate, dial in our ideas, and we can sit there and get an estimate of what it would cost to put temporary offices down at the Golden Fellowship Hall on the south side of the, AKA the old library.
So, Mark, I do have a question for Ben. What is the next step moving forward going to be, Ben? What kind of money are we going to have to spend to go to the next level to get this project rolling? Or, I mean, if we spend a ton of money and pull the trigger in 2 months, oh yeah, no, we're not going to do that. That might hurt a lot.
I would say that you're not going to have much of anything invested in this. The next step, if you do want to proceed with investigating it further, would be to set up a pre-application meeting with the USDA. That's something we can just do. It's a couple hours, get some more information. I would set that up with Township folks, us, the MFA and Bond Council and the USDA, and we can sit down and talk through those details. I think that would be a really great next step if that's something that you're interested in pursuing. And,
Yeah,
and again, that's you're not signing on to anything. There's there's no strings attached. Just a meeting, and then from that point on, any costs that you incur are eligible to be reimbursed through the USDA. So that would be a really important next step.
I think that's what the motion was by Andy, was to proceed with USDA. So that would, okay, pre-conference, pre-application meeting would be part of that.
Yeah, we already have the floor plans and the estimates dialed in, a site plan, so there's really not much more we need to do at this point.
So we're not going to be pulling the trigger for more than $5 grand, 10 grand, 100,000. What kind of money are we looking at, Ben, approximately?
Just, I would say the cost of a couple hours of meetings. That's really it.
Okay, and would you be able to do a conceptual tent build out at the Golden Fellowship Hall just to get us by for a year?
Yeah, I think we could do that. You're
I mean,
just talking about putting up, a few walls, maybe some cubes to just get some space.
Okay, if you can sit there and run that preliminary number, and that would coincide with pre-application. So that way we can come back and say, okay, pre-application, rough numbers that have been honed in. Then we can sit there and take a look at our budget, our capital plan, and we can proceed. So with that being said,
Ben, for the next step, I would like to know, not what we're doing here, but if we come back to the board for, we're going to have to move ahead with this next. I'd like a cost associated, a cost associated with the next step. So if I make a motion, I can say not to exceed X amount before we decide to really pull the trigger and dig a hole.
I would say the next step to, have the pre-application meeting and do another, a round of concepts for the Golden Fellowship Hall would be $1,500.
That's within my limit now, so that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm good.
So with that being said, roll call up, please, Judy.
Before we do that, I would like the motion to read differently, because right now it's to proceed with demolishing the building and going and get USDA financing. So in hearing the discussion right now, really what you're looking for is board approval to find out how much it's going to cost going through the USDA and whether we even qualify. Where in going to find the money each year to pay your $1,000, which we got 500,000 too. So are you sure that you want to go with this motion and that you don't? I think you're.
Could you read the motion back again? That way we know where we're at. Maybe I do need to modify it.
Because as of right now, you've got proceed with demolishing building, rebuild in current location, apply for USDA financing process for your mortgage loan is what you're basically what you're doing right now.
I think I missed that order two in there. Move forward with the next steps of demolishing the current building.
I thought I seconded the motion for the new location, not the existing location.
No, he wanted to have it demolished and put in the same location.
I've heard three different comments in there. I'm sorry. So what's your flavor, Andy?
My motion would be to move forward with the next steps of demolishing the current building and building in the existing footprint. Not to exceed $5,000.
So you're looking at investigating into proceeding with demolition here and building here.
So the next, setting up that meeting with USDA, Ben giving us a better idea on what it costs for the Golden Fellowship Hall to do a temporary there. Kind of the things that what we need to do to go ahead with the process of removing this building, putting a new one here.
Okay.
Well, that's your motion. I think
Correct.
that's what Judy was asking for clarification.
Yep.
Is that correct, Judy?
Yes.
And Dave withdrew his support, he said.
You withdrew his support?
I thought he had moved to put it in the new undeveloped location. That's what I'm for.
Okay. I'll support your motion, Andy. Because we need to investigate. So we don't know if we can pull the money out of the budget, but we don't know how much we need out of the budget. That's what this pre-application cost is for. And to build here new is cheaper than building 75 feet to the west because we got to relocate all our wells, et cetera, and it becomes a nightmare. So,
well, if you do with what Dave wants, then there's no money that needs to go down into the Golden Fellowship Hall. If you build it at a new site, then you'd stay right where you were at until the new thing was there.
oh yeah, that is an option, but that's an additional. I'm going to roughly say $350,000 option more
For
if
what?
we do that.
But
We put $100,000 in the Golden Fellowship.
What's that? The additional cost from tearing this down and building new in the exact footprint, roughly $1.855 million. To sit there and build in the new undeveloped site, which is directly east of us, that's $2.171 million.
Okay, it's almost 400,000 more.
250.
We're not going to stick that amount of money down there in that Golden Fellowship. Then we're not going to stick the $600,000 that Ben told us to remodel it.
Right. If we're going to remodel it down there to make it permanent, yes, it's going to cost that much. But we're asking Ben, and it was asked of Ben, if we could do a temporary improvement down there to facilitate us occupying up to a year.
Okay.
So it might be 30,000. It might be 22,000. I don't.
It could be 300. We don't know.
Or 300. Yeah.
Saying is that instead of doing that, take that 20 or 30,000 that you're going to spend down there, build the new building, and stay put here till the new building is done.
Right, but it's going to cost $250,000 more to build right across the street, right in front of where we park. That's additional $220,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it is.
315.
Everybody's calculator's different.
But you're going to save 100 at Golden Fellowship, so.
Well, if it only costs to do an upgrade, throw up, 6 walls with $89 entry doors down at Menards. And we might be able to get away with $20,000 improvement for temporary walls that we can
No
take
way.
out once we're done.
No way.
Why don't you just put us all down there, temporary walls, and see how we do?
Yeah, we can sit there and put petitions just like what we did, like that full wall we have between Mary Jo and Alicia. You'd still have your office next.
I'd say don't mind even put the petitions up. Just put the desk down there. But you're gonna have to move. You have to figure the cost to move the server and everything too.
Phones, internet.
Mm-hmm.
So if this motion fails, we make another motion. I think it's time to call the question.
Hey, yeah, Andy and Marv.
Yeah.
If you guys are willing to add the word possibility in front of tearing down the old building, I'll vote for it.
That was
Well,
probably the
possibility or
intention of my
possibility?
motion.
What's that?
That was the intention of my motion, is to look to move forward with the
Investigate it.
possibility to relocate for the next steps, because I want to be going in a direction. I don't want to keep spinning in circles.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome aboard.
Okay, so he did. Pat, he did that. Not to exceed 5,000. I thought you said.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Call the question. Roll call, please.
Can you repeat the question?
No, I can't.
The motion is to move forward with the investigation
Let the clerk do
of moving forward with demolishing the current building and building a new town hall in the current footprint, not to exceed $5,000.
Support. We're just looking into it. We got our direction narrowed down. Got it. Hey, roll call, please.
No.
McDonald,
Yes.
Marek,
Yes.
Biganowski,
No.
Biondo,
Yes.
Kramer, yes, and Radtke.
Yes, motion carries. 5 yes, 2 no. It'll be identified in the minutes as who said yes, who said no. Okay. Thank you. Motion carries. Ben, you have your instructions?
Yep, I do. We'll be in touch.
Okay, very good. The next item on our agenda is Camp Stocky discussion. Basically what it is, you were supplied an article and that the Natural Resource Commission did award or recommend that Green Lake Township be awarded $569,200 towards the purchase of Camp Stocky. We're waiting for the legislators to vote on it, which typically transpires in March, April. And once that's done by the legislator, it's signed by the governor, then we proceed with the state of Michigan on validating the value and isolating the cost further detail. So it could take 12 to 18 months for us to actually close on this.
Mr. Radke, I'd like to make a motion that we request the Parks and Recreation Board begin deliberations about the future of the parkland, currently known as Camp Stocky, and to present this board proposed park rules for the park, as well as the potential future of the parkland uses in a timely manner.
Okay, we have a motion by Andy to send
create park rules.
Yep, to the Park
And
Rec.
potential land use.
Park.
It can have.
It's going to be, yeah. Well, with the information that we can go with, yes. Andy made a motion. There's the report for that motion. Radtke will support that motion. Any discussion?
Yeah. How do we access that park?
Sullivan Road, Mulberry Lane, and there's actually a spot in Galvin.
I think Sullivan
We're
Road
gonna send it
needs,
to the park. What's that?
I think Sullivan Road's gonna need some work.
Right, and there's that one strip, it's a public right of way along, the east side of, the property. That's why we're gonna send it down to the Park and Rec to have them look at it and give them their highest and best recommendation. There's also an access in the north. It's called the DNR boat launch. You can kayak to the south end and get on the dirt. So we can send it to the Park and Rec and let them, go at it. Like Andy's motion said.
Sounds good.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please, Judy.
Biondo. West.
No.
Piganowski.
Oh, yeah.
Marek.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Kramer, yes. And Radtke.
6-1. Whom will be notified will be delineated in the minutes. Okay, next is office hours and operation. I believe Andy made that request to put it on. Andy?
Yes, sir. Given the current, what's going on here in the state of Michigan and what we've traditionally done with the office here at the township over the holidays, I would like to continue the current status of the office where we're appointment only through January 1st of 2021. It really only affects about 4 additional office days. I am required statutorily to have an office hour. Doesn't mean it has to be open to the public to walk in, but I can be here one day between Christmas and New Year's. And Judy stated she's going to be here anyways one of those days to handle all the payroll and bills that need to be done. It's just with the public walking in and stuff, there is potential issues for exposure. And if we get exposed in this office, we can lose EMS and fire really quick, like what happened up in Oscoda in the beginning of this pandemic. So my motion would be to extend the current by appointment only at the township office through January 1st, 2021.
In essence, you said the difference of 4 days is typically Green Lake has closed historically in decades past between Christmas and New Year's. So you're basically saying continue with that, and the net differences between it'd be the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, those 3 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless I did my math, it's entirely possible at this hour.
I'll second.
A motion by Andy, supported by Kramer, to continue with the operations and through January 1st. Any discussion?
Are the offices closed right now?
Open by
Your latest order?
We're remote working, the staff is, the office is open by appointment.
In effect to how long?
At least until the 20th
Of January.
of this year. And there's discussion of having some of this, I'm not going to use the term. There's a discussion they're going to hold it until March 31st, 2021.
Okay, so we're already closed until the 20th. Okay.
Well, yes, well, modified
December.
operation. We're working remotely.
He's going to extend it again, so.
Yeah, we're working remotely, but we still meet people by appointment.
Okay.
And just like in years past, 25th, between Christmas and New Year's, we were closed anyways. The clerk and the treasurer made arrangements to come in separate days to move past. One day to pay bills, make them a check so we can pay it. Any other discussion? Roll call it, Judy.
Marek.
Yes.
Biondo.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Piganowski.
No.
Kramer, yes. West. And Radtke.
Yes, motion passes 6-1. Who voted would be determined will be outlined in the minutes. Thank you. Next item, mandatory COVID vaccine. I believe Pat McDonald brought that forward.
Yeah, I'll try and make it real fast.
Do it right.
I'm a little bit of an anti-vaxxer myself, and I've never got a flu shot. But on the other hand, this is a little bit different flu. I was under the impression that Munson mandated all of its employees to get flu shots a few years back, and so I guess my concern was, should we have the concern that if we have some of our first responders that don't want to get the vaccine right away, I mean, are we putting our residents at risk, especially the elderly ones? Would they be at risk of those first responders who have refused the vaccination and going out and treating them?
They've been doing it for a year or since February.
Yeah, but now there's a vaccine available. Or there's going to
Do
be
we
shortly.
require testing?
What?
Do we require testing of our EMS?
No.
No,
So
only
what
if
would we-
they are in contact or allegedly or possible.
Right. So vaccine is almost the same thing as requiring testing. We don't do it unless it's a necessity.
We haven't done it.
I haven't done it.
Yeah, and that's what Pat's inquiring about and asking for.
If I could
Is-
add in really quick, so there's Munson has not established a mandatory vaccination for COVID-19. They have, with very few exemptions, done that with influenza in the past, and very few people can opt out of that. However, with COVID-19, all of our staff members wear their precautions while in patient contact. If there is a suspected contact, even if a patient has confirmation, as long as the employee is symptomless, we still take temp. They're evaluating their symptoms, then they aren't even mandatory tested at that point in time until they have symptom onset. Then we can have a rapid test, which actually some departments have rapid tests, which are back within an hour. The health department also has availability of testing. We've had numerous different COVID patients that we've transported. Nobody in our agency has had a positive test or symptoms. So I think we've been pretty well there. So to my knowledge, there's no agency that has done mandatory testing with this. Today, I think being the first day of the actual vaccinations, and even Munson, who got the first dose, they're still trying to establish who the first frontliners are. I'm going to assume ER providers, but that hasn't even been established yet. So that's where I can update you from at this point in time.
Personally, I feel that it's a board decision to make. Is up to probably Munson. If they feel that everyone, it was safer for them to have the vaccine, they require it. I also feel this is probably something Daryl should be guiding us on. I feel that this is a board decision you make. I wouldn't want to tell me I have to take it.
I would not be in support of a mandatory vaccination for any of our employees. I would have no issue with encouraging or having the chief give us direction on what the staff should, how we should direct the staff or encourage the staff, but I don't think we should mandate vaccinations or anything as a board, because that's not on this related to COVID. I think the state and the feds are giving plenty of guidelines to first responders, EMTs, all of that on what should be done. I don't think we should be trying to one up the state or the feds on we can do something better than you, unless the chief makes the recommendation to us with science and data.
I say never can we require anybody to take a vaccine. Never. This is disgusting. We're discussing it.
What about restaurant workers? What's that shot that they got to get?
Absolutely not. This is a free country. If you don't want to go there, don't go there. Our people wear masks, whatever, for silly reasons, but this is ridiculous.
Thanks, Dave. I couldn't phrase that better.
Okay, now it's all the time you really feel. And so I haven't heard anything from Paul. If he's interested, and a little bit from Sherry, if I
I'd
recall.
say I'm pretty much on Dave's thinking there. So I'm good with whatever people want to do, they can do, but I'm certainly not a mandatory vaccine kind of guy.
Okay, so I think this was on there as a question by Pat. Did you want to take any action, or do you think that we have expressed our opinion is for those who want to get a vaccine, they can get a vaccine. For those who don't have to?
Yeah, I'm good. I just wanted to bring the issue up.
Okay, thank you, sir. As part of the record, very good. Okay. Did I miss anything under new business?
No.
Okay, so now we're on the board discussion. Is there anything additional that we want to talk about?
About the length of our meetings.
How pretty is the side?
Andy, no more questions like that. We'll do it one at a time.
I just want to say I've been impressed. Really, I just want to go on the record saying I've been really impressed with how well our staff acts here at the office. As a citizen walking in from time to time and talking to people, I didn't realize how well staffed we are and what a high caliber of individuals we have working here at the township. From our secretary, who yelled at me for calling her anything but secretary, all the way over to the other side of the building. It's been a great experience so far, and they've really taken me under the wing and helped me understand how to find the coffee pot in the bathroom. So I appreciate that.
Okay, any other discussions? Anything with correspondence? And last but not least, public comments. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Same rules apply. Your name and address for the record, and not to exceed 3 minutes in length. Any member of the public?
You have a hand up, Marv.
Hand up. I'm looking. Oh, Andrew. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with Andrew if you don't mind.
Oh, that'll be fine. Andrew Nishvetsky at 1900 Pine Tree. Yep. And I'm just like
your partner?
Shannon Stewart.
Also 9.
Stewart, thank
you. Yeah, sorry about that. Just want to
no
say
problem.
I'd love to talk to every one of you if you want to make the time about what we're looking at doing, the plan that we are putting together. Just that we're available to do it. If anyone wants to, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Well, you heard the action tonight. We postponed any action on that just because of some of the comments and questions, and also you expressed interest. And our board seems to be pretty well diversified of unlimited to, well, we have more than enough. So
right.
We're going to sit down to a workshop. If you could submit us an email with your contact info, that way we can keep you informed of when we're going to take action.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to make clear I'm available for any questions, but I'll do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. So if you could do that, that'd be greatly appreciated, sir. Ma'am. Hey.
Let the board know that we did, we were one of the chosen. We were able picked to have a state audit on November 3rd election. It occurred last Thursday. Everything went really well. We have just a couple little things that the work need to do. They didn't write on the application to the voter number, but everything else went really well. We passed, and so now we're moving on to the next election.
Fabulous. Good job on that, Judy, to stand at a state audit. Let's see. Any other public comment? I'm looking for
Wade is here.
Huh?
Wade.
Oh, Wade.
I have my hand up.
Where?
Right here.
Okay, I believe you.
Okay. I don't want to keep you longer than you have to be. Trust me. But I want to say a few more words about the Eurasian Water Milfoil Assessment District. first of all, I want to say that there are a lot of people that are not happy with what was happening in the last 5 years. As president of Orchestra Camp Colony, I can tell you that at least 20 families there are not happy with what was done. I took it upon myself in 2018 to secure a quote from Kaiser and Associates. They would do this aquatic plant survey at the same price that PLM is doing it, but they would also look for water milfoil weevil as all part of that cost. And it'd be slightly less, they said, to do that, because there's a very good chance, because of the lots of vacant land around the lake, that water milfoil weevil will overwinter, and this would reduce the cost considerably. Second, I'm concerned about the fact that so many places are being treated on the lake when we only found 2 places with small patches of Eurasian water milfoil. Third, I would ask, as part of that evaluation, that you consider lineal feet of lakefront, because we have some people that have maybe 50 feet of lake frontage, and there are other people, like on the south side of the lake, that have hundreds and hundreds of feet of lake frontage. We're all being assessed the same amount. So the Duck Lake Dam Assessment District did it by lineal feet of lakefront. So that's something that should be considered. And so keep in mind that there are many people that are not happy with the current situation. We need multiple estimates, and I still feel that there should be a separate company doing the survey from the ones that do any treatment. There are lakes in Van Buren County that have controlled their water milfoil with the weevil, as well as in Kalkaska County. That I can tell you for sure. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you. You too, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, now how do I stop this? There we go, cancel. Okay, any other public comment? I'm looking in the list to see if there's any raised hands. I couldn't see Wade in the pictures, so my apologies, Wade.
He's still spinning.
Is he?
You have Dick Thompson is raising his hand in the video.
Is it? Okay, then I'm trying.
Like 10 times.
Okay, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, I disagree with a lot of Mr. Adams' assessments. I think it's been very successful with having PLM here on Duck Lake in the last 5 years. I personally have noticed it. I welcome the approval again tonight. I just hope it's for a longer period of time. I don't care exactly which one, but I've been extremely happy with PLM. They've also come out and dealt with Phragmites. I just disagree with Mr. Adams on this, and I appreciate the board's support in going forward again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment? By gosh and by golly, seeing no raised hands on video, no raised hands in participants, which we still have 16. I would look for a motion to adjourn this meeting at 9:40 p.m.
I'll move.
We got a motion by who?
Paul.
Paul, supported by Wes. No discussion. All roll call. Sorry. Video mode, we got the roll call.
Kramer's going to vote no. I want to keep. Kramer, yes. Bigadowski?
Yes.
Biondo?
No. Oh, yes.
West,
Yes.
Marek,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
and Radtke.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. Yes, this meeting adjourned at 9:40 p.m. Thank you. All have a good night.
You too.
Rhonda, I'm in a Dropbox. The minutes.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry
Merry Christmas,
Christmas.
all.